I'll say again. You just caught me. I was just getting in the car. Go ahead and sign on because I don't know how to put you as host if you're not on. There you go, I see you. Admit, okay. And I would not sign out because I'm not going to have access to this for a while. Good morning. Okay, let's see. I know how to do this. Just a minute. Participants, there you are. More. Make host. Boom, chakalaka. You got it?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Well,
yes, it shows me like pause. It shows me pause, stop recording. It shows me breakout rooms. Okay, and I can even do that manually. Okay, perfect.
Can you get into the breakout room?
Let's see. Let's create breakout room. Open all rooms. Okay, it says that you are invited. Does that work?
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. You have a great day.
And you know, I hope this meeting is short, maybe less than an hour, and I can get back here and join you guys. But you guys are perfectly capable.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
It's so weird.
Okay. Does everyone see that? Yep, okay. Awesome. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I know you probably wanted to sleep in today. My name is Frances. I'm the president for Unite, and we also have some other board members if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Victor. I'm the event coordinator for Unite, and I'm an S1. Hopefully y'all heard that.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I am the vice president and an S2.
I'm Jenica. I'm secretary and an S2.
Hi, I'm Trisha, and I'm the mentor coordinator, and I'm an S1.
Anyone else? Okay. All right.
I think we'll just do a quick introduction for the CES members. I'm Sagan, and I'll have my other board members introduce themselves as well.
I'm Courtney. I'm the vice president. I'm an S1.
I'm Vanessa. I'm the secretary, and I'm an S1 as well.
I'm Lexi. I'm the treasurer, and I'm an S1.
And I'm Quincy. I'm an S1 as well, and I'm corporate director.
I'm Kelly, and I'm the week and evening representative for CES, and I'm an S1.
Okay, is that everybody? I think so. All right, well, welcome everybody. First off, I want to say congratulations. It's, I'm sure you've worked so hard to get here, and it's a little unconventional starting nursing school, but it's still a really big deal, so congratulations. There are a lot of unknown up ahead, but that's okay. Just keep an open mind, trust yourself, help each other out. the 2 years will fly by, trust me. I'm an S2 and I feel like I was just J1 yesterday learning how to listen to long sounds. So we have a couple tips about classes and everything on campus, and then we'll also answer some of your questions along the way. So if you have any questions along the way, just let us know. And let's see. Oh, and that's a little disclaimer. Okay. So I'll talk about parking first. When you do go on campus, we have a parking garage. You can park from the ramp of the first floor until the very top. If you're running late on the lot street, because we also have PT, OT students, graduate students. So hide your belongings out of sight, obviously. And if you're gonna stay later at night and you feel, you know, kind of unsafe walking to your car, you can always call DPS and they'll escort you to your car. And then if you ever forget your parking permit, you're actually eligible to receive 2 free temporary permits. You just go to the lobby and they'll take care of you. Oh yeah, and don't park in disabled spaces, obviously, and in any spaces you're not supposed to. Okay. Victor, you want to take this one?
Yes, okay. So one of the things about being on the Dallas campus that may be different from maybe where you were like at the inn or wherever you were at before you came to the Dallas campus is the lockers. Since in J1, most of your classes are going to be labs, and you know during those labs obviously you can't really bring your extra backpacks and stuff. You only can bring like what you need into lab and stuff like that. So there are lockers available. At least from advice, the second floor lockers are probably the better ones because they're bigger. They have more space. My locker was on the 4th floor last year and it was pretty small, so I usually would have to like get the lock combination of one of my friends and just use theirs when I wasn't in class. The lockers this year are free. The link is here. We can put it in the chat like after, so that you can access it. It's free this school year and it's first come first serve. So if you are doing the locker stuff and the second floor ones usually get taken up first, and obviously there's lockers on the 4th, 5th, and 4th and 5th floor, I believe. Maybe 3rd floor as well. Keep in your locker, you can put your snacks, utensils, any extra stuff, things that would be important for you to have and that you don't want to forget. So just stuff like that. So just remember to fill out the form if you are interested in having lockers so that you don't have to go back and forth from your car to get stuff.
I had a friend who kept a coffee maker in her locker.
Oh.
Well, obviously we can't do that right now because we're all online, but just in case you want to use that idea.
I'm so sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to say this is all being recorded. So if people are coming in and out or like tech problems or whatever, just know that this is recorded and we'll send it out to you guys. So like the link and stuff, don't worry. Don't worry if you feel like you need to take notes. This is the only lecture I'd say that you don't need to take notes in. So just relax and soak it all in. Sorry, I won't interrupt now. You guys go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Does anybody else want to take this slide?
I can go ahead if that's all right. So now we're just going to talk about like the different floors in the building. So if you haven't been on campus yet, it's like one large building, and the first floor is the lobby and DPS, as mentioned before by Francis. The second floor, everything's a little bit different now because we're doing classes online on Zoom, and you're not going in person unless you're just coming up to use the perks of just staying on campus and studying up there. So the second floor is where your lectures would have potentially been, like in J1 or just your last 2 years of nursing school in general. So there are a bunch of lecture rooms there, but we're doing classes through Zoom. I also recommend there are like seats in there in the different lecture rooms if like you and your friends want to come up and study on campus. The second floor has empty lecture rooms, and it's not like a reserved thing. It's just a first come, first serve type of
Oh yeah, me too. You know, and I'm like, whatever, like, I mean, at some point I'm going to be working in pediatrics, you know, as part of our rotation, not because I want to, but because we have to. And like, it's going to be helpful that I had.
Can you mute yourself?
I think it's bullshit that they're like, oh.
Okay, perfect.
I just put them on mute, so you can do that as well.
Did not mean, thank you. But just second floor, just know it's lecture rooms. You can study in there. If you log in, you use your full like email, like mine is scaleb@tw.edu, and then the normal password you use to log in, like anywhere else, or just, yep, in your Pioneer portal. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Anyone else need to add about this slide?
I think you're good.
Okay, then let's continue.
All right, third floor. So I've included a lunch that I had a lot of times, this fancy lean cuisine there. So when you go on campus, if you're ever sitting on campus to study, there are so many fridges and so many microwaves. I don't know how PT, OT are doing classes this semester, but when I was there, usually the fridges get filled up pretty fast. So if there's no space, I usually just put an ice pack in there and put it on top of the fridge. Label your food. No one steals food there. I've left ice cream in the freezer and no one's touched it before. And then or if you're gonna get a locker, it's a really good idea to, you know, pack food or bring snacks. And fridges are cleaned out during breaks, so if you are gonna put food there, don't forget about them. Yes. Oh yeah, bring your own utensils. So the campus doesn't have any utensils for some reason, and I think they're like 25, 50 cents. I don't know if that's correct, but just don't forget your utensils or bring reusable ones.
Yeah, they'll charge a quarter for them in the cafe.
Yeah. And then you can always buy breakfast or lunch from the cafeteria. If you don't want food from there, there's Thai place around the corner, Chick-fil-A. I think there's like a Dickie's barbecue. So there are a lot of options around the area. You want to take this one, Kayla?
Sure. So the third floor is basically, that's where you'll have, there's some lockers there. That's the gym, the dining area, the student life. I personally love studying on the third floor. There's a room back there. There's rooms on the side that classes don't meet up, and they're pretty big rooms. So like a group, like it's really good to group study. So, oh, there's also the student lounge. So for both the gym and the student lounge, you're gonna need your ID to get in. Inside the gym, it's a very small compared to the Denton campus gym, but still a gym. There are like 2 treadmills, 2 ellipticals, a lot of stuff for weights. But there's also like areas where if you wanted to yoga. In the student lounge, there are board games, ping pong table. There's an entire wall that's basically a whiteboard. There's comfy chairs, and then sometimes they'll have like massages and also yoga at night activities. And then there's the, what's it called? The student life is where you can get your IDs. Also, you can meet some people who work there that they, what's it called? I can't remember the name. His name is Trevor, but he helps with resumes and any applications that he wants, like you need to look over.
You mean the career connections people?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Totally blanked on the name. So all of that is available to you guys on the third floor.
Yeah, and then utilize those career connections. It's a really great idea to edit your resume as you go. So when you have clinical, make sure you keep track of where you're going. Because, you know, after J2, you can apply to be a tech somewhere. And then for me, you know, we're S2 starting to apply for jobs and residencies. So it's a really, you know, helpful to not have to start from scratch and just keep adding and updating as you go.
Yes, just to add on really quickly, student life, people don't ever go in there, use a connection, the career connections people, they are great. Like Trevor is awesome at resumes. He gives you great information, practice interviews, and I've even used that during this online virtual setting, and it's honestly easier than it was doing it in person. I also recommend Legal Services does do things like a few times a semester. They're able to do like wills. I mean, I don't think anyone's thinking about their will in nursing school, but for me, it's just I never knew when I was going, and it was just so nice to have that all figured out. And if you ever need anything like with lawyers or family issues, they're there, and you're already paying for it, so you might as well, like for these things like the gym and the student lounge, so you might as well, it's getting taken out of tuition anyways, you might as well enjoy it while you have it, because like getting someone to do your will as like out, like not as a student, costs like a couple $1,000s. So save your money while you can.
Yeah, I actually got, what is it called? Like an advanced directive done. So, I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. It's better to be prepared than not. Oh, and then I want to point out that for the gym, at least for me, the nursing school 15 was real. So make sure you're getting your exercise.
Can I add something too? Also on the third floor, there's the lactation room. If anybody ever needs that, or if you have a friend or somebody asks and you need to access that, you just have to go to Student Life and they'll give you the information to get in there.
Thank you, Janica. All right.
So someone messaged me a question, so I'm just going to repeat it out loud.
Okay.
So if someone has a Denton ID, do they need to get a new Dallas one? That's actually a good question.
Great question. You do not. Well, so this is the correct answer. So the Denton ID will still, this is at least with my personal experience being like a J1 last year, they will tell you to come up to Student Life on the third floor. You won't miss it. It's like on the, I'd say the south side of the building. You'll just see, it's a clear windows. You won't miss it, right across the cafeteria. You go in there, they'll take your picture and they'll do your picture, give you a new free ID, but that's the last free ID you get. So once they give you that Dallas student ID, your Denton one will no longer work to swipe in the building after 5 p.m. or before 7 a.m. But you can still use that old Denton ID as an ID for when it comes to taking exams on Zoom and the professor asks you to show your ID. So it won't work to badge in and out after hours when you do need a student ID to get access to the building, but you can still use it for exams, if that makes sense.
I have one thing to add. I know when I went to get my new ID because mine wouldn't unlock the doors, they had taken my old ID. So I'm not sure, like, don't count on 100% that you're going to be able to keep both of them, because they wouldn't let me take my old one. They pretty much told me it doesn't work, so why do you need it? So
right, that makes sense, and it's probably for security reasons. So
I guess it just depends who might be doing it.
Right. Okay, anyone have any other questions before we go on to the fourth floor? Okay, or so sorry. Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
Sorry, someone had a question. They said if concepts and assessment labs are going to be on campus. I believe the labs are on campus. Is that correct? You guys know?
So, I mean, I'm just speaking as like what happened to us last semester. I would say, and please don't hold us like what we say is the Bible, because it's not, it's just our experiences, like in that disclaimer that we mentioned, and anything with this COVID situation could change at any time. Labs as of right now, what I understand, but the professors will be, I know they're so bad at this, but they're sending out the syllabi like this weekend and just getting all the information up on Canvas. What I understand, if you do have any labs before you go into clinicals, it's just to make sure that you know what you're doing before you get out in the hospital, and it will be on the 4th floor, which we're about to go talk about right now. But again, anything could change, just be super flexible. But what I understand is we will be going, you'll do virtual orientations for your hospitals, but they might make you do clinical skills as J1 students in the lab before you go out into the hospital. Okay.
So 4th floor, that's usually where all the high fidelity sim labs are. So you'll have your concepts and assessment labs usually on that floor. And then there are small classrooms there. If they're not being used, you can also use that to study in. Oh, and there's some rooms where the whiteboards like span a whole wall. So if you're one of those people who just need to write everything down, bring your expo markers and you can go in there if no one's in there. There's also computer rooms that you can access with your ID. I think usually they're unlocked, but if they're not, you can always see if your ID works. And there are also lockers on this floor. They're a little bit smaller, so if you can snatch the ones on the 2nd floor, that would be better. Sorry, go ahead.
Just like about the 4th floor, know that just be prepared. There are mannequins all around in the hallways and late at night, and you're like, with me, it was like I was there late at night and I saw them and I think they're people. They're not people. Don't be afraid. That's just anxiety talking, I guess. But they're just be prepared to see mannequins around the corner.
And if you want like practice on the mannequins, we're not supposed to touch them on our own. Some of them are like electronic and students fiddle with them not knowing how they work, and then they break and somebody has to come fix them. So if you do want practice on the mannequins, there's always instructors you can ask, and they'll work with you and find a time where you and your friends can come up and practice.
I was going to say, I got stuck with a small locker on the 4th floor my J1 semester, and that actually worked out because of the assessments lab, because you can't take anything in there with you. So if you're running late or you have to run and grab something real quick, I had an extremely picky assessments lab professor, and she wanted everything in the classroom when it started, and if you didn't walk in there on time, you couldn't come in at all, and that kind of thing. So it worked out well for me. So if you get stuck with a 4th floor locker, don't be discouraged.
Thank you. All right, anyone else have anything to add for the 4th floor? Okay, all right, so we're moving on to the 6th floor. I parentheses where you'll live from now on, at least where I did. So you have the computer lab and the library on this floor. The computer lab is perfect for printing, completing assignments and crying. Up to you if you want to do that. They also have a link where you can print from your laptop, tablet, or smartphone if you forget to, once we're on campus, if you forget to print out a lecture. So you can print it out from your laptop, go run real quick to the computer lab, and then you have it ready. Oh, and then one fun thing about that link, you can name it whatever you want. So I put anxiety or please help me, and it'll show up on the screen. And then right across from there is the library, and you have study rooms and other quiet places there. And the study rooms do get booked up pretty fast. So make sure you reserve early, especially if you want to come in earlier for exam days once we're on campus. There's a link there that we can share with you later on. It's the same as the Dallas campus where you reserve the study rooms. And then Sigan mentioned earlier, make sure you utilize everything that's included in your tuition. So that includes checking out books from the library. Right now I have 5 that I've checked out. some of the books that I checked out, I actually wrote on here, is the Mosby's Fluids and Electrolytes. They look like this, like that. And it's just really helpful, and it's, you know, if you're a visual learner like me and you like mnemonics and little acronyms to learn, that's a really good tool. And then they also have NCLEX books, and sometimes you can check out textbooks and just make copies of that if you don't want to buy, or if you know you don't have the means to buy a textbook. And then speaking of NCLEX, if you guys want to invest in this book, it's Saunders Comprehensive. It's really nice to use. I've used it all 4 semesters, and it's kind of like a compact version of what you're learning in class. Like it just what's the most important items in there.
I have mine right here.
You have it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It just has like, it divides everything into chapters. And then so like, let's say you're learning about fluids and electrolytes, you go to that section. And then at the end of it, it has practice questions. And then at the back of the book, it'll show you the answer and give you a reasoning as to why it was right or wrong. It's really helpful for exams.
I personally found that book really helpful for the adult to final. I don't know if it's just because it was, I don't know, luck or what, but I do recommend that. But then if you don't want to purchase a physical book, there are the older editions online. If you just look up the Saunders book, like a PDF version, and you can just download that and save that in your desktop as a file. And one other thing, sorry, I keep interrupting, but with my experience coming to campus, like since it's opened back up, the study rooms are unavailable right now. I'm not sure if they're going to, once school starts, open that back up so we can start using it, but just be aware that the rooms might not be available in the library or on the 6th floor. There aren't that many. I think there are only 5, but just be flexible with where you can study. Just find a quiet spot. There's even, I recommend the 7th floor, which is like, or is it the 7th? Yeah, the 7th floor has like the adults, like the professors, their study room, their office hours, if I'm correct, that's where that's at. There's like a quiet section that no student ever really goes to over there. So I recommend that you go study on the 7th floor if you find that it's too loud or too crowded. But I think everyone's been pretty respectful of each other, and just we all keep it quiet when we study.
All right, thank you. And then speaking of quiet, I'm one of those people that need like absolute silence or like background noise, like, you know, people talking in the library. Well, I can't do that right now. So I bought these foam earplugs. They're like $1 or $2 at Target, Walmart, and you get a whole bunch. They're really helpful for exams, especially. All right, moving on. Oh, and we got some pictures. The one on the left is very true. I'm just saying. But yeah, your life isn't over, and you has simply begun.
If you don't follow Nurse Blake, that's who that was in that picture. I highly recommend following him. It's a good stress reliever.
I saw him live with a friend of mine, and oh my gosh, the fellowship of suffering is real. All right, next one is organization is key. So everyone is different, but being organized in nursing school is definitely a key in being successful. Personally, I use a planner, just a regular planner. It's 2021. Kind of wasted half of it because we weren't doing anything. But it's really helpful to keep track of what you're supposed to do. Notes. Personally, I like writing on paper just because I remember my materials easier that way. But again, up to you. If any of the officers have any tips for organization, you can chime in.
I would like to chime in because this is one of my biggest joys at the beginning of every semester. is getting your syllabus and your schedule and writing it in your planner. So I color coordinate because I'm crazy, but I'll have like a monthly spread, because working and stuff, you have to figure it out way ahead of time. So I'll kind of color coordinate my month like that, but then during the week it would look something like that. So I put the times and the color for the class, what I need to study, when I'm working, and just silly things like that.
I have that too. I have purple for CCI and pink for community health.
My CCI is purple too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
And then I coordinate the colors on Canvas too.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say too, I usually do the same thing with the planner. With last semester being as insane as it was, we just pretty much threw our planners out the window. I found that it was really helpful for me. I put everything on a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet, and I color coded that, and I put the dates, and I had them running down like on a running log for days, and then what I had to do that day, and then I had like a side section of this is what I'm going to study this day. That way I could change everything up really easily without having to cross through my planner and everything like that. So that's just my suggestion if the semester turns out to be like last semester where they change everything.
I also used a whiteboard because we were doing everything at home. So like right above my desk, I had a whiteboard, and that allowed me to make changes really easily, but it was also like right in my face while I was like working on stuff. So I knew exactly what I had to be doing.
That's a really good idea.
It's just really important. Sometimes you get so busy, with work, or you've got a lot going on in a couple of weeks time span. Sometimes you have to triage what you need to do first and figure out what's most important, what I need to get done right now before I focus on something else.
Is that your dog?
She thinks her playtime is more important than this right now.
Aw, show us your dog.
At the dog park.
He went on the patio.
Aw.
But just to add on about organization, yeah, I personally use a physical planner, and every class is color, even every family member has their own color. But I mean, that's just how I am personally, and that worked out for me. But I would say just figure out if you want to do it on paper, if you want to do it physical, just get everything written out, like the exam dates, the quizzes, like your foreign quizzes that are due at like 8:50 or whatever. Just write it all out while they give you your schedule. And then just a buddy system. Just find someone, when we'll talk about your clinical groups later on. Just find a buddy or two that you can just like text me like, hey, just making sure this assignment is due, like when we like at the beginning of class or before class starts, or we have this test coming up for, like, can we just like review that and be nice to each other? Because no offense, you all got in the program, you're here already. There's no need for competition. I just felt like the first 2 years is always competition, and once like our last 2 years looking back, you can just help each other out because we're all getting the same degree and we're your TW students, you're gonna get a job. I've never heard of like any TW student having an issue with finding a job after graduation. So just be nice to each other, help each other out if you see someone struggling, and like if they have like organization tips that you see like another student have, just ask them, hey, how are you doing so well in this class? What's your secret? Or just help out others if you see struggling.
Yeah, and don't be ashamed to ask for help. One of the mistakes I made early on is I try to do everything by myself, and that's not a good idea because you gotta use all the resources you can. That includes the people around you. Yeah. Oh, and this is my puppy. She has gotten me through nursing school for sure, and I woke her up for her nap. I'm sorry. Okay, and then we're speaking of studying. So there's this thing called BARC. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to take this questionnaire for concepts or assessment. So visual, auditory, read, write, kinesthetic. It's really helpful to know what kind of, how you study, because nursing school I had to completely change how I study. or mix them up. You can't just sit and read and hopefully your brain, soaks everything up, because a lot of the questions are application questions.
Stop it.
Does anyone else want to add on study on the VARC study habits?
I would just say, like, take the test and like see, like, just try out whatever, like if they say like you're a visual learner, or like whatever it tells you. Be flexible. Just like your first test will obviously be the lower test grade because you're just figuring out like what the words are like, or like just how to take the test in those classes. Don't be frustrated. Just find your people that you can study with. Reach out, like, just at the beginning of the semester, just reach out to your professor and let them just know like who you are. Just like, I'm excited to take your class. And then, so if you do end up struggling like on exams, you're just, this is my learning style. That's the first thing they're going to ask you if you email them and you tell them you're struggling with their exams. They're going to say, what's your learning style? And they'll set up an appointment with you. Just try to figure out the way that you study, because I thought I knew how to study before nursing school, and I would like study the night before for a pharm test and stress myself out for no reason. And that's just not the way. You can't memory dump anymore, unfortunately. If that was your way, figure out the hard way that it doesn't work. But don't be like frustrated, and just study ahead of time while you can. And we'll go into each specific class in a bit, just about like how we studied. I'll have like the board members and current members talk about their experiences, so you can kind of get an idea of like how to study for each class.
Yes, and then it's also a really good idea to take little bites out of big chunks. So instead of, again, I'm really bad and I procrastinate a lot. But it's better to do, again, planning out your day. You have to be a little bit more, what's that word I'm looking for? Intentional with planning. And that includes breaks. So, maybe I'm gonna do 25 minutes of answering questions, 25 minutes of assessment. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. So it's a really good idea to break down your time as specific as possible. If you're one of those people that have a hard time staying on track like me. But okay, I guess we're gonna move on to the classes now. All right, pharmacology. Personally, this was my best class, J1, because it was a lot of memorization. So learn the important drugs and what they're for, and don't wait the last minute to study. There's a lot of information. Again, try to, like, after lecture, look over your notes and, make a little cheat sheet so that you can take away the main points, the most important points. And I think did you guys do the quizzes for my people who just recently took pharmacology?
Yes. So for us, I think, okay, so what I've heard is Sirotas. You guys, any of the incoming J1s, correct me if I'm wrong. Sirotas is now your professor. We didn't have her as our, had Mims and Milligan. But as far as if everything still goes just the way that we took it with those two professors, the quizzes are now online. Like, you're supposed to take it before you come into class on Zoom on Monday morning. So, and it opens up like Sunday, like, I don't remember if it was like 9 a.m. You have 24 hours. Like, so it opens up Sunday 9 a.m., closes at 9 a.m. on Monday, and your lecture starts Monday. So it's over, like, the test. So if you had a test this coming up Sunday, I mean, you're not gonna have an upcoming quiz, but like, for example, if it's week 3, you have a quiz open Sunday, closes Monday at like 8:50 or whatever a.m. It's over the material that you're going to learn in lecture. So you kind of have to look at the material ahead of time, if that makes sense. But the quizzes are super easy, and usually they still keep it the same way. There was like a study guide, and it had like questions that you would like fill out. That you would fill out one with the PowerPoints that they provide you over the semesters. You would do the study guide beforehand, and the questions for the quiz would come straight from the study guide. Like, I don't think I ever missed a single. I got all my quiz points just because it was a lot easier.
The quizzes are like a lot of the other classes, the quizzes or the extra work like don't add up for your grade. It's just the tests. But with pharm, like, if you do well enough, in the class, then your quizzes get added, but you have to get like a certain average with your test before the quizzes get added. So the quizzes can really help you out.
I would highly suggest with like farm because there's so much material that you have to learn, you know, kind of in a short period of time, especially like in the beginning. What I would do is I would always, you know, if the handout or the PowerPoint for the lecture coming up for the week came out, I would print it out at school and then start highlighting and reading over it. So by the time I came to class and we were talking about that material, I had already read it. So I kind of had an idea of things. And it just made studying a little bit easier because, you know, you really, for farm at least, because, you know, like I was saying, it's just so much things to study. You know, it's not just the drugs and then just knowing about the drugs, but knowing the side effects, what you're supposed to do with the drug about, you know, side effects, how is it supposed to, you know, affect the patient, what are you supposed to do if you see an adverse reaction to a drug. You know, there's a lot of that kind of stuff in terms of test questions. So I feel like the earlier you study, the better you'll be able to and kind of understand the drugs in relation to each other and study them by classes, you know, by, you know, your neuro drugs, your cardiac drugs, blood pressure ones, stuff like that. It makes it easier to organize how you study the drugs and it will help with applying it on the exams and stuff. So I would just, you know, suggest, you know, be proactive with farm at least. Don't wait till the last minute just because it's only mainly just memorizing stuff and applying.
Yeah, and I for me, I found helpful making concept maps. So I think there was like, is it benzodiazepines or something? I don't know, the CNS depressants. But I made like little flow charts because they all sounded familiar, and it kind of helped me like visualize during the exam. And I just have like, you know, kind of group them all together. So concept maps are helpful if you guys want to look into that. Does anyone else have any input for pharmacology?
I also really recommend going through the Panoptos. I know that obviously it's a different instructor, but like Mims and Milligan were very good about being like, if we don't teach it in this class, it's not going to be on the test. And so I would review the Panoptos and pick up little things that she was like, this is really important that I didn't get the first time around taking notes in class.
Same. I did the same thing. I would re-listen to the lectures and then just add on to the notes that I took in class. And like she said, like I caught stuff that I didn't catch in class. And then most of the time that was on the exam. And yeah, the professors did a really good job of pointing out what exactly is going to be on the exam and what you don't need to worry about. And then like Victor said, just studying everything in classifications really helped me because most of the things that are in the same classification have like kind of the same side effects and stuff like that. So if you study it all together, then you know if this is a heart drug, then it's going to have this type of side effect. Instead of like studying them randomly, then you'd have to remember everything separately, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh, you had something? Sorry.
Personally, this was my most difficult class because I'm more of a visual and hands-on learner, and a lot of pharmacology is memorization. So what helped me, I would highlight everything in my notes. Like I would highlight the classification one color and all of the drugs underneath their own color. And then I'd group my notes like that. And then I would go and watch videos with pictures and demonstrations on how the drug works in your body. So I have that visual aspect rather than just the notes. And then being in the hospital and clinicals, you'll find out seeing drugs over and over again. Ask the nurses that you're shadowing, what does this drug do? If you're unsure, ask them. And most of them, if not all of them, are glad to help you. And that's how I learned a whole lot more than I did in class, by seeing it in person, interacting with it, seeing my patient's condition and what they needed it for, and being able to apply it in that way. So YouTube videos are very, very helpful.
Thank you for sharing that.
I would also like to add, so I shared a file in the chat. If you download it, it's a good learning aid to help you like memorize different drugs, like what the drug does, what are the complications associated with that drug, like what you should be aware of or teach your patient when you're giving this drug. I don't know if this is like only a weekend evening thing, but for pharmacology, they actually like had a list of drugs for us to memorize like throughout the entire like program. So it's like for all of these classes that you're taking this semester, like keep your notes and keep them organized and up to date, because everything builds onto each other and it's gonna haunt you like throughout your like entire year, or 2 years, I should say. But really like keep up to date with everything, because at some point it's gonna be on a test question like several semesters later, and you're going to be like, I vaguely remember learning this, but they're going to expect you to know it. And they're not like in later semesters, they're going to expect you to like be up to date with stuff that you learned like from J1. So just letting you know that now, because you can't just memory it up like everyone said, because at some point it's going to come back, and yeah, it's going to be like that on your like tests, your NCLEX, all of that.
And I know you guys have a lot of stuff to do to, before the first week of school starts. If you guys have any time and you're just, cooking or cleaning or something, I believe you can go on Canvas and search up like pharmacology or something, and you can watch previous semesters. So if you want to kind of get a feel of what your first lecture is going to be like, that might be really helpful. And then also I think it was S1 where we changed teachers for like a certain lecture, I don't know, but one professor explained it a little better, so I visited their previous lecture, and that it was there for me. So if you guys want to visit older lectures on Canvas, that would be helpful too.
Sorry, one thing I'd like to add about the farm that's kind of a common theme throughout nursing school is, you might, again, it's from the top down, knowing what your class does, but also the individual drugs, what makes them different, what's special about a side effect, or, you might have a question and you're like, okay, I know they need a diuretic, but 3 out of the 4 answers are diuretics. Well, which one is best suited for the patient? It might be this one doesn't affect a lab value so much. So just understanding what makes a drug special versus the other ones, or what makes it different, how it affects the patient different from the other ones, is kind of important.
Just to add on, I mean, I know everyone's like said a lot and everyone has really great information, but I would just like to say, because I always like when I hear people talk and I listen to people for advice, I always ask them, how would you have done it differently? So I'd say for farm, like set your alarm. Like I always took my test like Sunday night, 9 p.m. And I just had an alarm on my phone, and like it was written in my planner, don't forget to take it's like a 10-minute quiz. So I would do that. And then like Victor said, like print. So I don't think we mentioned this earlier, but anyways, just know that you can print as much as you'd like to on campus. Like the printer is free. So I physically printed out all of my farm notes, and I did it it depends on the professor. Like you could do like just PowerPoint slide, or I did it like in an outline. Like I study better when it looks like bullet points for me. So I would recommend just printing out your notes, highlighting them during the lecture. And then as Vanessa and the other people mentioned, go back through Panopto and listen to those old lectures. And I see, Katrina, you do have a question about Canvas. I'll answer that in a minute in the chat. But
I got it.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. But so I'd say like in lecture, just pay attention, highlight as much, like take it in as much as you can, review the information, that the PowerPoints or the outline before you go into class. And then when I studied, so I like the buddy system is the way through nursing. That's the only thing I can say. Like if you get one thing out of this, just the buddy system will help you so much. So my 2 friends and I, we would, like as Kelly mentioned, you get drugs for every exam. Like exam 1 will be like these, like not 50 drugs. There are 50 drugs, I guess, the whole fund, but they just split up the drugs throughout the semester. So we had like a Google document, and we had the list of the drugs, and then we did like contraindications, like like black box warnings. Like we just made a huge document. And so for the final, like we just had to add the few new like cancer drugs, like one new lecture versus like stressing out at the end of the semester. So find your people, like maybe 2 or 3 people. You guys make a Google Doc list of the drugs. Like for me, it was like, and I would color code, as Courtney mentioned, like all of the cardiovascular drugs were red, and then with the benzos were blue. So just think like you do whatever works for you. But for me, it was easier to just make the Google Doc, list of drugs, and then like different columns. And you'll see once you go into the class, like you'll basically go over one system a week. It'll talk about like things that you need to know, what makes that drug special, if there's like a reverse look drug. But I mean, pharm is really looking back, it was my hardest at the time, but I wish like I took more time like away from work and my family life to just focus on studying for that class. Because if you just put the time in to memorize the information, it's the easiest class. And I didn't do that, and I learned that looking back. I would say the first is the easiest. So it's like like study those benzo drugs. Just know, I think that was the easiest exam. The others didn't get harder. It was just more material and more drugs throughout the semester. So I'd focus on doing your best on that first exam. But if like any of the people who just finished J1, like Heather, if you have any other info, I mean, you guys are all doing great, and I really love that you guys are giving your advice and participating. But that's all I have to say. That was a lot, but
Well, thank you for sharing. But you have a really good point. Also, make sure you don't spend too much time on preparing your study materials, because I made this mistake. There's a little bit of trial and error. I would spend too much time like actually making my study guides and not enough time studying them. So make sure you plan ahead of time. So maybe, write a little bit of your study guide and study that as you go along, just so you're not spending all of your time making your study guides. Okay, I guess we're moving on to assessment. So assessment, you and your group will get extra close. I'm just letting you guys know that. So assessment, you have to definitely read the book. I remember them pulling questions from like, pictures on the bottom of the book when it has like a little caption. I remember them pulling questions from that, and focus on the abnormals. So for example, if you guys talk about skin, what is the ABCDE rule, and you guys will learn that. What else? And then you will have homework that you have to fill in before coming to class, just so you come prepared, kind of knowing what the body system you're studying is about. And I can, at the end of this boot camp, I can show you guys my drive, and I can go through the notes that I have from J1.
Also,
yes,
study the homework. Like, I didn't realize how many questions actually, sorry, it's my dog. I didn't realize how many questions actually came from the homework. And I know a couple of people who went through remediation after tests, and Ms. Nolan, who was my instructor for both assessment and concepts, and I love her, I can't speak highly enough about her. She went through, and literally every question from the test was from the homework. So study the homeworks. They like, even those little boxes, like she was mentioning that the bottom of the pictures, like that's what's in it. A lot of the times that's from the homework.
Yeah, you have a good point. What I ended up doing was I figured out like third of the way in is that they use the study, or not the homeworks for exam questions. So what I did was I just went all out on the assignments, and I put extra stuff in there. So I'm already doing this as homework. I might as well utilize it as a study guide later on. But yeah, the more detailed you are, the more that you don't have to add on later.
I also like to pull a lot of questions in the textbook. There's columns on the side of each page. They're pink, and they're called abnormal findings. They pulled a lot of questions from there as well. So definitely pay attention to that part.
Yeah, this class was my best class because it was more hands-on learning in lab. And what you learn in your homework and lecture the week before you enforce in lab with the hands-on learning. And the homework assignments are a bit tedious because you go through the textbook finding the answers, but I promise you every single answer is in the book. And I'm not a textbook reader, but going through the textbook with questions and activities was a lot more enjoyable, and that's how I got my textbook studying in. And it definitely helps because they use so much information straight out of the textbook. And another resource, when you get your textbook, the Evolve website, you can register your textbook on there, and they have practice questions for each chapter. So there's like a little mini quiz you can access online with practice questions. And I noticed a lot of those practice questions were very similar to test questions that they would use.
Yeah, and I can share all of this with you guys when we go over like my Google Drive after the presentation. It's my brother. He's doing online school. He's a senior in high school. But yeah, so earlier I said you and your group are gonna get super extra close because you will assess each other. So a lot of us would wear, sports bras and shorts. And I know I can't specifically say what the rule was if you're not comfortable doing that. You can ask your instructor or professor, but I don't know how this semester is going to work with that. So I think it was, what's her name? I forgot. Who was the professor for assessment? The with the glasses? Granger. Oh my gosh, Miss Granger. She did like a show and tell of what kind of sports bras you should buy, but honestly just wear one that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and one thing each week in assessment, you'll focus on a body system and learn, I guess, the normal findings, abnormal findings. You'll learn how to assess your patient by working with your friends in your clinical group. And at the very end, there's this head-to-toe assessment, which pretty much combines the entire assessment of every body system. And it seems super scary at first. I know we were all terrified and like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to remember all of this stuff, because they give you a couple of pages of everything you need to check off in your assessment to pass it. And it's honestly just practice. When you get that, find your family, friends, do assessments on all of them. I know my clinical group had a little head-to-toe assessment party where we all got together at a girl's house and traded around partners and did our assessments and scored each other. And my poor boyfriend was a victim as well. And eventually, like after doing it so many times, he was able to do like half of my assessment from memory as well. So it's honestly just a practice thing. And when you practice, as you learn it on your patients at the hospital, you can do small assessments as you learn different body parts and what to look for. And just keeping that and continual practice, and you'll be totally fine with that.
I remember one of the, like what makes J1 hard was, there's a lot of unknown, but also getting used to the fact that people are watching you, like checking off. I know like my heart would be pounding when we did check offs. But just know that the professors are not there to fail you. They want you to pass. So if you need help memorizing, or if you want any pointers, always go to them, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you.
Also, make a script. Like in assessment, there are very particular things that they want you to say, and they have that in the documents that they'll give you. So like make a script directly from that document, memorize your script, and then you'll be able to like know the actions you're supposed to go through.
All right. So Patho. I took Patho when I was a J1.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, what's up?
If I talk about assessment, you guys know me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm out of breath. Just ran upstairs. I would say so. Just to clarify, so you do so Farm and Patho are the two classes where you just do lectures. Assessment and concept, so just talking about assessments right now, you do lectures on Zoom. It's all 100 of y'all. And then you have lab, like AM or PM, 1 day a week. And it's like 4 hours or whatever. And that's in groups of 10-ish. Sorry, I'm so out of breath, y'all. I'm out of shape. Whew. But I would say so, like Francis mentioned, so we don't know how it's gonna be with classes, if your professors will talk to you about going in person for labs and whatever. So you do have to buy, like, you wear to lab if you guys are going in person, your scrubs and like a sports bra underneath and shorts, like you bring like that, all that stuff. So just be prepared for that. That's what she was mentioning about y'all getting really close. And then most of the kids in your assessment class, maybe like a few may like be in a different clinical group for clinicals when we go back to the hospitals, but they will be like your people. So when I'm saying find your people, it's your concepts and assessments people. So in your lab classes, those are the people to reach out to. And we had like a group me and we all like keep each other accountable, like, hey, don't forget, like, this assignment is due. Regarding the, okay, so for farm, do not buy the book. Whoever tries to sell you the book, they are scamming you and they just want to make money. And there's a special place down there for them. Let me just say that, okay? Don't buy the book for that. Buy the assessment book. Buy it used. It doesn't need to be brand new, like $100 or whatever, unless that's the only thing that's offered. But maybe you can find someone who just took it, like one of us, if you want to buy it off of us. But the book is really helpful. That's where all the exam questions come from and the assignments. So we mentioned the assignments. Okay, this is my personal advice. I said the buddy system, divide and conquer. Change up the information. Like, it's the same information. Like, you guys are we're all learning the same thing, if that makes sense. So if you want to split that up among people, just know, change it up so that it's like makes sense to your, like, so when you study and you use it to practice for exams, it makes sense to you, or it's in your wording. So don't make it all look the same, but it's the same information, if that makes sense. So don't waste your time doing those assignments if you can split it up among people. That's just my personal advice, and that saved me hours a week. Okay, for assessment book study guide. So there isn't a study guide. Wait, correct me if I'm wrong. Was there a study guide? There's only so for farm, you had like a study guide, which is a list of drugs. Even if our teacher, sorry.
I didn't do the study guide for the exams, but it would just list up the chapters that's on the exam.
Right. I think it's more like the blueprint, not a study.
Right. They're really crappy about that, to be honest. It's like, yeah, it's like a blueprint, like Victor and Francis said. So it's just like chapter 23 in the book, and it's just like that's whatever you did the weeks before, like for that test. But okay, so yeah, professor said read before the semester starts. I sound like an awful influence. I bought that book like the second or third week in the semester. Do not waste your summer. Enjoy your time and your family and your loved ones while you can, because school sucks, no offense. So I say I didn't read and I was fine. I made a B in the class, and I don't think it's worth the stress that you put on yourself. I mean, I know other people who will be like, oh my God, I started reading in July and I got an A, and that's cool, but I don't. I personally say enjoy your life while you can. I don't know, and I'm just an honest person, if you know me personally.
I will say the only time I opened the book was to read the few chapters before the semester started, and I never opened it again. Like somebody said earlier, everything you need to know they give you in your PowerPoints. I imagine Serotis will do the kind of follow what Milligan's done for the past few years. But if she does, everything you need to know is in the material they give you.
Yeah. Yes. So buy the assessment book. Don't read it before the semester starts, but use it for the assignments and divide and conquer on those assignments. That was just for assessment. For farm now, or for farm, do not buy the book. The PowerPoints and the materials they put on campus, that's all you need to pass the class. Do not buy the farm book, but only buy the assessment book. Okay, now I'm gonna shut up. But yeah, okay, go ahead. Talk.
Also for farm, I found that using like a little drug book helped. I have a little one here. It's small, but like really fat. And it has like, you can look up the drug and it'll have all the information, the classification, what it's for, side effects. And it's a good supplement to the notes they give you in class, as well as clinicals. Whenever you are having to give a patient a drug, you might not know what it is. You can go home and look at it. So I see a question about what drug guide to recommend. I have this one. It's Mosby's Drug Reference 2020 version. I would say whatever one you can find online is a good one. I know my friends have different versions, different types, but they all pretty much have the same general information about the drugs.
I bought the Lippincott pocket guide because you can take that with you into clinicals. The pages are like kind of glossy, so water's not going to ruin everything, and it literally is super tiny and fits in your pocket.
I got the Mosby's 13 edition one. In adult one for J2, they told us to get it, so I just ended up going with that. So I don't know if that's like the latest edition, but that's what I use.
I personally got this one. I'm a beauty guru. There you go. Yeah, I got the, what is this called? Davis's Drug Guide. If you guys have the time to go to your local, what is that called? I'm like blanking out. Your local half price books, you know, they have a section of, I can drop that. They have a section of nursing and science books. So you can look and, you know, save your money.
They also have apps like during clinicals, whenever I'm looking up drugs, I just open up my app and then it shows like everything, and everything's pretty organized.
I sound like an awful person, like I'm contradicting what everyone's saying. For the app that Vanessa's talking about, I say LexiComp is a good one that we use in assessment class. But don't worry about the drug book. I personally never bought one. I think I have it on a PDF maybe in my email somewhere, and I never used it. I just like when it comes, you have a drug core list you have to fill out before you go to clinicals. And I divided and conquered on that as well. You can, like, LexiComp is a good online app that we used for free. I'll send it, I'll look on my phone and then send it out. But I'm just saying, I didn't buy the book and I'm almost done and I'm fine. I know the professors are like, bring it to clinicals, but you can look, like when you log in and you have access to the computers at the hospitals, there are different programs that they let like the nurses and student nurses and whatever use to look up drug stuff. So I've never, I mean, good for y'all who did get to use the book. I never bought it and I'm fine.
Drugs.com is a really good reference too, because they have all the same kind of stuff as in the drug book. I was just bad with pharmacology, so I figured if I have a little book I can use, I can look up anything, and it helped me, but it is a personal preference if you'd rather use the online version or whatnot. But drugs.com is a very good reference for clinical material.
Yeah, and some professors will be like, you have to bring the book to come to clinical. You'll figure it out, like whoever your clinical professor is. And I mean, mine always said that, but I never bought it. I'm really cheap. So, and I turned out all right. You'll be okay. Don't worry about the drug book. Just, it's the least of your problems. And it's not, you don't go to clinicals like week 5 or 6. So don't even worry about it.
Save your coins. Again, use the library. They have copies of them too. And you can check them out like until the end of the semester. So don't worry about spending on books because nursing school is expensive as it is. Okay, patho. So I remember it's more for those who didn't take it before nursing school. I remember it was just your traditional classes, like the ones you would take in Denton. So you'd go to a lecture and they'd go through the slides and then you'd take an exam. I believe there was a website that had practice questions, and that helped me a lot because.
Test Go.
Sorry, what was that, Heather?
It's Test Bank Go.
Oh yeah, I'll include that at the end also. But that helped a lot, and just start getting used to doing practice questions. Even starting off 5 a day, just start getting used to them. I think the hardest part of taking Patho during J1 was organizing my time and like delegating what I need to do. Just because you have, Patho, Farm, Concepts and Assessment, you have to be a little bit more, again, intentional with your time. Oh, and
Sorry.
yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, if it's still Tennecoon, she gives a lot of opportunities for extra credit. They're usually really easy. They're usually meant to help you study. Like if she's giving you, I know for like the eyes, I think we did like a definition list, and then a lot of that stuff came right on the test, and we had a presentation, and a lot of the test questions came from the presentations. So if she gives the extra credit, do it, because again, like you have all this other like core nursing stuff to get through, and the extra credit could be the difference between you making an A and a B and a C. So like it seems like busy work, but it ends up helping. Just do it.
All right, and if you guys have any other questions, we're doing a Q&A at the end also. So if you have any questions, write them down and we'll try to answer them. All right. Oh, let's see. And it looks like they just posted all of the nursing drug guides in the comment or in the group chat.
I don't mean to interrupt. I didn't take farm, so I don't know about it. But I think Lexi, you took farm, if I'm right. I think you took credit at the last boot camp. Do you have any other info or tips for them? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Farm or Patho?
Oh, Patho. I'm so sorry, Patho.
Patho. For Patho, I don't want to be a bad influence. I didn't really go to that class, so I just kind of studied on my own. And we had peer tutoring, so that helped out quite a bit. Do they have peer tutoring for Patho?
Right now, we don't have peer tutoring.
Yeah, so I don't really think
I thought they still had one for J1s.
Yeah, they're doing it for J1, I thought.
Yeah.
Well, then use it.
Yeah, so if y'all have peer tutoring, that's what I used for Patho, because the like PowerPoints, if it's the same professor, I think I forgot her name, it starts with like a T. She was very vague, and it was just like, it wasn't helping me to go to her class. So I just kind of stopped going, except for like tests. And peer tutoring really helped me. I never used the book. I just used my notes and peer tutoring, and that got me through. So I think I came out with like a B or something, like barely. So I don't really have any advice besides peer tutoring, and kind of like, I think I used videos too, like YouTube videos at some point, because her PowerPoints were very vague. And sometimes they go too much into detail, like, because she does like research or something. She's a very smart woman. So her PowerPoints like sometimes are for her own enjoyment. And so it's like a little bit too much information for you. So if you use the peer tutor notes, it helps to kind of dumb it down a little bit and compress the information that you actually need to know. And sometimes I know, like when I did go to her lecture, she would kind of say like, yeah, this is just, just information. You don't really have to know it. So if the notes, like her notes are very, very like, sometimes it's too much. So if y'all have peer tutor notes, utilize that. I would say utilize that over her PowerPoints. That's all I have.
Okay. Does anyone else? Yes.
I didn't take Patho during nursing school. I took it beforehand, but I remember with the textbook, they had us get a little workbook. And it's kind of how the assessment homeworks worked, how you'd have your questions to go through the textbook and find the answers to. And that's pretty much all I used to study patho was that workbook and working through it and the assigned chapters out of the textbook. But I'm not sure if they do it that same way in person. I took it online.
Yeah,
They
they had that workbook, but I found that not a lot of her questions really came from the workbook. At least like some of the concepts did, but like I didn't find the workbook to be very helpful, to be honest. I just kind of did it last minute. I never used it except for the homework, so I can't really say if that was a good study method for myself, but y'all can definitely take both of our options and, you know, just kind of do what works for you. Just take, if one thing's not working, then just try the other person's side, or, you know, you
She
just have
takes questions for the quizzes directly from the study guide, but she also cuts a lot of information out. So I found that the study guide was like way more work than like needed to be done. I really think that the peer tutor notes were like by far the most helpful. I literally only learned from the peer tutoring, but she does take quiz questions because you do have weekly quizzes, or I guess they're quizzes right before the tests. She does take quiz questions right from the study guide.
Yeah, and this is what the study guide looks like. There are copies in the library. Snatch one up if you don't want to buy it, because you just, again, use it for the quizzes, and that's pretty much it. Okay, all right, so I guess we're moving on to concepts. And this is your other class that has a lecture and a lab. And this is the basics for the ethics behind nursing, and then your basic clinical skills. So this is where you'll get to learn how to insert a Foley. What else did we do? Insert a Foley, wound dressings,
Injections.
insert NG tubes, injections, yeah, all of that good stuff. So the lectures are long. Bring some snacks on your desk wherever you're studying. They do test over content that's being discussed during the lecture and not just PowerPoint. So if someone mentions, make sure you remember XYZ, write that down because it might be on the exam. If they give out additional handouts, read them if you can. There's always like 1 or 2 questions over material that's not gone over during class. And I remember we did a lot of VSIMs, lot of VSIMs. And I don't think they asked any questions from the VSIMs, is that correct? Or did they?
You did.
They
did, yeah.
They did, okay.
Yeah, so with the VSIMs, it's like your little virtual patient in this little program, and you pretty much have all these options to interact with your patient, and you have to look at their condition and what they need, what you need to assess and ask them. They're pretty straightforward, and there's questions like pre-questions and post-questions, and those are the ones that they might pull for the test. From my memory. And there's also in that same web application that the VSIMs are, there's, I forget what it's called, but there's practice questions. You can pick the chapter, the topics, and it'll give you like as many questions as your little heart desires to take. You can do them for hours, and it kind of helps with the phrasing of questions and the critical thinking that you need to think through some of the questions, because with assessment it's more straightforward questions, but with concepts there's a lot of critical thinking and like situational things about if this is happening to my patient, what are things I need to look for, what's the process to care for them. It's a lot more in-depth thinking than just memorization.
Are you talking about Prep U?
Yes, Prep U, that's what it's called.
I'm just touching up about, so it's not kind of complicated. So assessment, just know that class is for like, just think about seeing a patient and like feeling them, like what you're touching, what you're looking for, the physical signs of like a sickness. I'd say concepts that's like the skills, like just concept of skills, like things you're gonna do, like how people mentioned like the catheter and stuff. So Professor Bain is now in charge of concepts. You guys, I loved her. I'm an extrovert, as you can tell. She's very outgoing. She makes sure that you feel comfortable. Please reach out to her. She is like the best person, like even to use for, I've used her for recommendation letters. Just get to know her. If you have her for clinicals, you're gonna love her as well. I would say, so regarding the VSIMs, you're required to purchase like access to that for the class. So VSIMs for us personally, I kept a list of the pre and post questions for the assignments in a Google Doc, like then we attached that to our pad that we made for the class, and quiz. I mean, I'd say like 4 questions from each exam. Like there's a 1 question from each VSIM that was for that like one exam questions. It's only like maybe 1 or 2 questions, but it still comes up on the exam. I made a list, memorized like what that kind of question was, and I would see that. I noticed that I did see that the second, like on the second or third exam, that you need to know the VSIMs. Prep U is a source that's I'm so sorry, y'all are hearing like a doorbell and a kid screaming. But just know Prep U, that allows you to do practice problems for the exam. Take those and get like a really high level of confidence on that, because that preps you for like the wording of exams. Yeah, just pay attention in lectures because different people have to speak at different times, and go over Panoptos if you don't attend those lectures. That's all I
Yeah,
have to say.
concepts lab was so much fun though, because like that's everything's new, and you get to try like for the injections, like for insulin stuff like that, you get this little I don't know what it's made out of. It's squishy. It's like a stress ball type material, so you get to practice doing your injections there. And it's super fun. Just you guys enjoy, and it's okay to make mistakes during lab. That's what you're supposed to do. It's better than making mistakes during lab than in real life. So don't take it, don't stress too much about it.
You're gonna have to watch videos before you go into like your lecture part of lab, and there are quizzes that are with those videos, and we found those to be super helpful for studying along with the Prep U. Basically for concepts, all I did was get up to a mastery level of 8 on the Prep U and then do the video quizzes.
I second that. For me, concepts was really hard. Like my grade just got worse every single time. So I was just like, what's up? But with the Lippincott thing, Prep U is like this question bank that's in the Lippincott that you purchase for concepts. With that Lippincott is the Prep U and the VSIMs that you complete, your VSIM assignments, and then also you have the Prep U and like what Heather was saying, those video questions that you have to watch, or those videos that you watch before concepts lab. There's also questions that are paired with those videos. So to me, like just the way I studied was just to do practice questions for concepts and just get really like good at knowing how to read the question, because at least for me, like reading the exams, it's a lot of like prioritization. What patient do you see first, or what's the most important thing you have to do? It's not just knowing the skill, but also knowing the process of how you're supposed to perform the skill, and like how to manage all that stuff together. So I would just recommend doing all that kind of stuff when studying for concepts. I read the book in the
Are you kind of breaking up there?
And I read the book but then halfway through I stopped reading it and just started focusing on the PowerPoints and just doing a lot of practice questions pretty much. For the adaptive, when you purchase the package, I think the question bank comes with it, so you don't have to like pay extra or anything. Oh, okay, yeah, that's Jenica. Sorry.
I did the same thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Who's talking? Okay. Yeah, I did the same thing as Victor. Like when we first started concepts, I struggled with like going from just learning the material and like that's it. That's what I would do. Just learn the material, and then I knew I was going to be okay with the exams because I knew the material. But here, you can know the material, but that doesn't mean you're going to be okay with the exam. You have to learn the material and learn how to apply it. And that was really hard for me. But yeah, like I started using the Prep U questions and then also the questions from the NCLEX book. And then when I was studying, I would try to study it in a format that I would think about, like, okay, I know this, but what would I do if a patient came in with this and this and this, and I'm the nurse in charge? And every question on those exams, I would always think of myself as the nurse in that position, and what would I do? And also, like, what would kill my patient first kind of thing. Like, that's going to be your priority. And like, can everything else wait? What's going to kill my patient first? What do I need to do first? But yeah, practice questions was my best friend for this class.
I have something to say. Okay, so with concepts, if you take patho, you have concepts and patho on the same day. And a lot of the times, I think the tests can kind of interfere. I think it's concepts and patho, they interfere. So yeah, they do, because I remember like I had such a hard time with concepts because I had patho like that sometimes like the same time. And so it was really hard because you're studying for one test and then you're like, oh my God, I have another test for this one. Like, so which one do I prioritize my time over? And I would say you definitely need to prioritize concepts over patho, because just patho, like somehow by the grace of God, I just was doing okay. And with concepts, I'm not going to say I didn't know the material, because I did, and I'm not going to lie, I failed a couple of tests. But when you go and talk to your instructor, you do realize, like, you don't think that you don't know the information, because you do. Like, when I would go talk to my instructor about it, it wasn't that I was, like, choosing completely far off. It was just that sometimes some of the questions can seem the answers can seem very similar, and you just pick the wrong one. Like, I know the information, and you know the information, so sometimes the questions can get you just in a little loop, just a little mixed up. So just know, like, if you fail a test, it's a-okay. Like, you're gonna do fine. Just, do some more studying, get some more questions, because once I started doing the practice questions, I did see my grade be more steady. I'm not gonna say it went up, but it did become more steady because I had those two classes. I think it really interfered with concepts. So just know, if you have both those classes, you might struggle just a bit, but don't let it get you down, because you will be fine. Just push forward.
Yeah, one thing, I was definitely more of an assessment person. Concepts, I struggled a little bit more. But the test taking in nursing school really got me. I feel like we talk about, doing practice questions, but we don't really talk about how do you take NCLEX type questions. So later on, there's a slide that I included with a bunch of NCLEX resources, like YouTube links, stuff like that. And I'll point out the one that really helped me, just so that I don't forget. All right, does anyone else have anything to add for concepts?
You'll get this a lot in class, but deader faster. Just remember, deader faster.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I see Professor Schramm she's a professor. She just joined in our meeting. She's our CES advisor. And you'll also have her speak to you guys in lectures. We'll even have her as a clinical professor, like when you go to clinicals. So if she just wants to say hi before we continue on to the next slide.
Hi, Ms. Schramm. I had Ms. Schramm for adult one. She's great.
Hi there, welcome. I just got back from one meeting and I'm going to another. So I'm going to say hi, welcome. Come join us in Chi Epsilon. It's a great organization and we'll keep you busy. Okay? All right, I'm off again, Sagan. I'm leaving the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for a break. Do you wanna do this now, or do you wanna keep going?
I'm thinking like time-wise, I'll leave it up to this. If you guys want like a 10-minute break if it's too overwhelming and you want to take a break, or I'm just worried we won't get through all the materials. So I think I personally am like, I put in time for a break and I was gonna put a timer up, but I think we should kind of cut that short, maybe 5 minutes if that's
5 minutes? Yeah. How about meet back at 10:45?
Yes.
Is that good? Okay. All right, well, everyone take a pee break, snack break. Let's come back at 10:45.
See y'all soon. I'll put I'll share my screen a little timer. Okay. See y'all soon. Sorry, I'm gonna unmute myself and I'm gonna show quick. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and then I'll add them to a list of questions that I've had accumulated before when you'll RSVP. Okay, see you soon.
Okay, I'm kind of a little early, but if everyone's ready, we can go ahead and get back to it. I'm not really stuck. Okay, Francis, are you over there?
Yeah, sorry, someone, I posted on their cohort Facebook and they couldn't find the link. So I'm gonna post it real quick, sorry.
I tried re-emailing it to everyone. I am not a tech person, as y'all can tell, and struggled with that. So I apologize if it took anyone like any difficulty with getting on there. But hopefully it works now with that link that you sent out to them. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself because I have like children running around. But if it's okay, I'm gonna let y'all pick up.
Sure, do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah, that's actually perfect.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that. Okay. Can everyone see that? Okay, that's my dog. Okay. All right, so earlier we mentioned, taking exams. If you do not get, so passing is 72. If you get below a 72, they'll have a one-on-one test review, and they'll go over, what went wrong, what you could have done differently, what's going on in your life at the moment. And they'll go over some of the questions, like if you read it differently, they can explain it to you. Definitely try to go. If I think I got like a 68 on the test, like one of my earlier tests, and I made sure to go, and it was very helpful because I make up stories, like scenarios, and I'm looking at test questions, and so I just go too far in depth, and the professors really help just kind of simplify it.
Yeah, one thing with those critical thinking questions, don't add anything into the question. I know they'll tell you that a million times because we're reading the question, we get in our heads what we think is going on and might assume something that wasn't given to us, and they're going to give us everything to figure it out with what they've taught us. We don't need to assume like, well, maybe this is going on too, and just read the question for what it is, take your time, look at what's in front of you, and choose the option, I guess, based on that.
Anyone else have any input for test review?
Don't be afraid to reach out to your professor, even if you made like a 74, like that's not a 72 or like a 71.5 or whatever. Just like if you feel like you need help, go ahead and reach out to your professor, whether it's your clinical professor or the course manager, just for help and like tips. And like they have office hours. I think it's on Mondays this semester. So it's just reach out to your professors. Don't let them reach out to you. That's like a big no-no in nursing. It's an unspoken rule. If the teacher has to find you, like it's just not professional on your part, and then just like as a student. So go to test review. It's required if you do don't get a 72 on a test. Don't be embarrassed about it. Like you do set up office times with them, you'll learn a lot. So sorry.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world if you fail an exam. You just learn from it and hopefully do better the next exam.
Also, sometimes, I don't know that they'll allow this semester, but last semester was our first semester using ExamSoft. And sometimes they let you see how many you got right or wrong, but like, don't freak out. There was one time where I ended up crying in a bathroom stall because I thought that I completely failed the test. And then they go through, it's not a curve, but they like look at the statistics to see, was this really a fair question? And sometimes those questions get dropped and it helps you out. So like, don't freak out, wait for your grade to officially be posted. And then, they usually do like a top 10 review, definitely go and understand why the top 10 were missed, and then just ask for help if you need it.
I know for pharm, looking back, and I think it's a pretty common theme throughout nursing school in your classes, when they do test review, they'll go over maybe the 10 most missed, and kind of give you a chance for those people who got it right to say, this is why I got it right, this is how I understood the question, or the people who missed it, this is why I missed it, this is what I read instead. So don't be afraid to not argue, but kind of share your viewpoint, because sometimes they'll throw out questions that if the whole class says, no, this is not what we thought the question said, this is what we are reading based on what you said in class or whatever. Don't be afraid to like share your viewpoint in the test reviews. Because I mean, sometimes they'll throw out the questions.
Yeah, I think they did that test review with farm and concepts in J1, but I know they used to, ExamSoft used to give us our score at the end. I know with us last semester in J2, they did at the beginning, but people were freaking out way too much, so they took that away. So you take your test and then wait to see any sort of score until they're done reviewing it and finalizing it, which I know you want to know what you made, but at the same time, it saves a little bit of freak out from thinking, oh no, I failed it, and then, oh, they added points back, I'm okay. So it might just depend on the course and the instructor's preference for that. I can't say for a fact what they'll do.
But yes, just advocate for, I am, like you guys know, an extrovert. Anytime that you guys go over the test question, for some classes, the way that you go over the test is different. Like they just hit the 10 top missed questions. And even if, like, you know, a question in the test, just like defend yourselves and get those points back, because any extra question y'all can get back can like help you pass or fail or move up a letter grade, if that makes sense. Any point adds up, so don't be afraid to speak up. I know a lot of my friends were afraid to speak up for points, and I was always the one like yelling, not yelling at the professor, but I just made sure to raise my hand, and I thought this question was worded weird, or it was like, just stand up for yourself because you deserve all these points. I'm sorry, Courtney, I think you're muted.
Do what? Oh, sorry, two of us.
There's another Courtney that was trying to speak.
Yeah, Courtney Byrne.
Bryn, sorry, if you can unmute yourself. Did you have anything to add, Courtney? Oh, sorry. I tried unmuting you. If it ever does work, just send me a message and I'll let you say what you're just about to say.
I'm gonna call her and see if I can get her on the phone to give her.
Okay.
She has some great info. She was my study buddy.
Awesome. You see, find your people. That's what I said. She found her person.
Okay, well, while they're doing that, I'll go ahead and go over some of these on-campus resources. We've gone over the computer lab in the library and the student third floor, but there's also CAPS. So we have a counseling center, I believe it's on the 8th floor, and you get 6 free sessions each semester included in your tuition. So nursing school is stressful enough as it is, and so it's really easy to keep that all to yourself. So I really recommend going to seeing one of our counselors. It's really nice to just dump out what you experience, and sometimes you see some things during clinical that kind of stay with you. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
I recommend something that I didn't start using until later. CAPS, like I know everyone's like, where my parents are from, like Africa, and you don't do therapy. That's just not a thing. There's like a stigma against immigrants, I'd say overall. Use it. It's so resourceful. Our therapists are amazing on camp, and they do virtual things just like now throughout the year. They always ask you if you're in a safe environment. Sorry, hang on one second. But I'm just saying, use your counseling services. You can even do like couples therapy if you have a significant other. Like, it's free. You're already paying for it. There's no reason not to. Same thing with like the computer lab. Print off as many notes. I mean, it's awful that we're killing all those trees, so just recycle the paper when you're done. The library, yeah, there's a nap pod. I would fall asleep on the floor even when it was taken, but that nap pod is amazing if you see it in there. Like we said, like reserve the rooms if it's available. I don't think it will will be during the semester, but get those textbooks for free. Student Life always has like free things going on. The massages were amazing. We used to run over from like as soon as lecture would finish up and there'd be a long line. Like that massage therapist was so nice if they're gonna do that. But yeah, use the gym. I mean, I have like a Fitness Connection membership and I just liked that, but like we're poor college students. Whatever is free, go ahead and use it is what I like to spread my dollar any way that I can. So one of the services that are available.
Sorry, Heather, go ahead.
Okay, Courtney, can you hear?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear Courtney? All right, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, if you speak up for yourself in the test reviews, the professor can explain to you why that's not the right answer. And it's going to be like a direct explanation to the questions you have. So it'll help you moving forward too, because you're going to have to know the material for the whole time.
Gotcha. Anything else you want to add?
I'll keep her on the phone, so in case she needs to speak up, we've got her.
Okay, thank you. All right, and here's some on-campus organizations. So obviously CES and Unite are here today. If you haven't already signed up to have a mentor, I think I sent out the newsletter for Unite a couple of days ago, and there's a link on there that you can click, and I can repost it again on the cohort Facebook group. But it's free. You don't have to pay anything to join Unite. And for me, my mentor helped me a lot because she sent me resources and her notes. And whenever I freaked out about something, I just kind of went to her and asked for her advice. So it's just really nice going to someone who's already experienced it. And then we have Women's Health, or WASA. We have SGA. I think Smile disbanded, I'm pretty sure. I haven't heard from them in a while. And then we have NCF. And Kayla, are you still part of NCF? You want to speak a little bit about that?
Yes. Let's see. So we're still trying to kind of get how we're gonna, because all of our schedules are still pretty up in the air. So we're trying to figure out how the meetings are going to go this semester, basically how many and how we're going to organize it amongst the group. But NCF stands for Nurses Christian Fellowship. Oh, Lolo, please don't. Well, while we were on campus, we'd have a meeting maybe once or twice a month, and we just kind of get together in a small group. We'll go over like a Bible verse and kind of how it speaks to us in our nursing world, kind of clinicals. And really, a lot of times it just ended up kind of the lower classmen talking to the upperclassmen and how we, help each other and kind of lift each other up throughout this whole fellowship of suffering. But more is to come on that. You'll all get an email. We're not sure. I think we're going to send out like just a mass email to all the J1s, and you'll be able to sign up from there. But we're also on Facebook. Let me figure out what it is. Nurses Christian Fellowship, and I think it says like Dallas campus.
Yeah, and you guys can always go to Pioneer Engage to look up any of these organizations if you want to know more information.
Yeah, I'll put the Facebook page in the comment. You guys can go join that, because we also post, like, same with Unite and CES, posting the meetings on the Facebook page a lot of times. So go join.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt again real quick. Yeah, so basically we're nonprofit. Sorry, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm working in. You're getting a kid in the video for a second. So CES is a nonprofit organization. We do a bunch of volunteering, and we have general meetings. We have 3 this semester, and we'll have current nurses come in and talk about their experience. We like to volunteering stuff. For example, we made homeless care packages. I think we did a really good turnout last semester on that. So we're a nonprofit org, and then so we do have a fee for joining our club. it is 90 over 2 years, or just 45 every year. And I mean, I can talk to a person about that later on. I'll send some info in the chat just to save us some time. But I do highly recommend that you join for sure. It's free. You get a free mentor. They'll send you their notes, tips for studying. It doesn't hurt. I love getting advice from others and bothering people with questions. So I recommend that y'all do that. CES is another good way to do that. Join our group. We're a national org, so we can connect y'all to like other people, and we have. I just could talk about it all day, but just I'd say join CES, join Unite, LaSalle. I say join all those things, like the Christian Fellowship, like all these are good and they're good to add to your resume. I would just say be active in one or two of those clubs, like try to get like an officer position and just be really active, because when it does come time to interviews, they're going to ask you for specific cases, like how were you involved, like what did you do? And like we recently, CES talked about it more, she like a PSA like COVID project, and it turned out amazing. I'm so proud of them for taking the initiative and just doing that project. And we just have a lot going on, and there's just no reason to not be involved in organizations while you're here. It boosts up your resume. It helps you get to know people in your class. I never saw a negative to it. Now I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, don't be afraid to join an organization. I think J1, the only one I joined was Unite, because I was so worried that I was gonna have too much on my plate. But honestly, the organizations are kind of a distraction from, the rest of the nursing stuff. So I attended a nursing convention, like I think last summer, and they told everyone, don't be unidimensional and just like be all about nursing school. Try to also branch out and do things that you love, because if you focus only on nursing, you're gonna go insane.
Also, with like joining organizations, CES has our board applications open until August 28th. So I believe they're on Pioneer Engage, and whenever you sign up for CES and send us that confirmation with your NSNA membership, request to join our group on Engage, and we can get you approved and in there. But we are taking board applications if you're interested.
Us too. A lot of us are graduating, so we need more people. And leadership skills, you can always use them for sure. The rest of the organizations, we have Best Buddies. I'm personally not part of that. Does anyone want to speak about Best Buddies? Okay, that's okay. And then PEAS is the pediatric organization. Then we have Spanish for Healthcare Organization, ISA disbanded, sorry. And then Stronger Together. So it's also really helpful joining these organizations if you don't know what you want to do. So you can be exposed to different types of things on here. For Unite, we invite our TW alumni to speak about their experience, advice, how they went through nursing school. And I know some people have networked with those nurses and they have gotten jobs. So, don't be afraid to join organizations, because you can use that as a networking tool, and, reach out to people about careers. Okay, now we're going to talk about HESI and NCLEX. Woo! So HESI, I believe you take a HESI, one HESI, two HESI for J1? Then just one? Okay, one for J1, and then J2, you take one, and then S1, we didn't take any, I believe.
They didn't have us take one last semester for J2.
J2, okay, I guess J2 is the one that you skipped.
They had us sign up for one, but COVID happened. I'm not sure if that was the deal, but we didn't end up taking it.
And we were supposed to in S1, but Corona happened.
Oh, okay. That's right. But yeah, HESI is like an indicator of, where you are, and how likely you are to pass the NCLEX. So if you get a bad grade, don't beat yourself up over it. You have a lot of time to prepare for it. So when you go on campus, there's an NCLEX 4000 desk icon that you can click on, and you can do as many questions as you like, pick what topics you want to practice on. And it's really good practice. And here we have nurselabs.com. They are super helpful for care plans because they give you, interventions, what to assess for, stuff like that. And it just saves you so much time rather than looking through a book or spending hours trying to research online.
And one thing about the HESI that I found out, the teachers do a really good job at preparing you. Their test questions are way harder than the HESI and the standardized tests. So if you can do that, you'll be totally fine on the HESI. Studying the materials, doing practice questions, it'll be a piece of cake.
Yeah, and then Courtney said in the chat, we get free question banks on Board Vitals too. So make sure you utilize that, Board Vitals.
Also, you don't necessarily have to pay for nursing.com, but sign up for their emails because they send cheat sheets every Friday and they're super helpful. Like recently they sent out one for EKGs and it shows you all the different abnormalities in EKG readings, and they're just like helpful 1 or 2 sheet information graphics usually.
Yeah, another resource for practice questions. You don't really have to have a specific program or textbook. You can just go on Google and type in nursing practice questions for whatever course or subject and find websites and programs with a ton of free questions.
Yeah, and Heather, actually the convention I went to was for nursing.com. And what's that?
I pay for it because I got grandfathered into like a lifetime program. So like 9 payments of $50 a month or whatever, you just get it forever. But it's like their questions are super helpful. They give you like, like 60% of people got this question right. But honestly, the thing that I find the most helpful is those cheat sheets.
Yeah, and they give you the what you really need to know on exams. And I just started studying for NCLEX, and they actually have the NCLEX prep program, and that helped a lot too.
I would say, sorry, I know we're like.
Oh, go ahead.
But if you just go back to that slide, if you'll only get one thing for clinicals, like at nurselabs.com, so you'll figure out clinicals when you get there, but basically you're gonna get a patient. So maybe I think J2's got 2 patients, and it'll show the diagnosis, like reason for come on, TC. It'll show like reason for admission on there. So sorry, y'all. I'm just gonna shut up right after this. But, I would say, so just use nurselabs.com, type in like their diagnosis, like COPD. It shows you like interventions, like anything you could possibly know, like, or things you need to look out for assessment about the patient on there. Like Nurse Labs will save you hours on your clinical paperwork because people waste so much time on that and don't study for exams. So just use nurselabs.com to get your paperwork done, even like the virtual simulations or however clinicals would go. But yeah, use the NCLEX apps on the computers on campus. They're really good, but more like for S1, S2, like studying for the NCLEX. So yeah, if you want to use that to review for exams in class for J1, that's cool too. Okay, now I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah. All right, and then I included this this slide. These are personally some of the websites that I used like throughout nursing. So registered nurse RN, you're gonna know that lady so well if you like to watch YouTube videos. I'll go ahead and show you. Maybe. Oh. That's her. She has probably any topic you could think of. Lab values. Oh my God, lab values. You need to memorize that to heart. That's probably one of the the primary things you're gonna learn in J1.
Yeah, I was watching her videos to study for my math test this afternoon.
Oh God, yeah, mine's tomorrow.
Good luck.
Thank you. And then we have simple nursing, and this one's awesome if you're a visual learner. What did I do? Oh my gosh. Well, here we go. So this is simple nursing, and he has, you know, say you're gonna learn about DKA versus HHNS. He has, okay. Sorry, that's true. Okay, so he has these little things at the end. I'm trying to show you guys. Like that. And he'll differentiate different things. And it's so helpful, especially when you hit adult 2, because there's a lot of more critical care type stuff. And then Gail Lopika is another lecturer, but she a lot of these are condensed information of what you just really need to know. And then again, nursing.com is awesome. Courtney said, straight A nursing podcast on Spotify is good for views while you're driving. I agree. And then some miscellaneous one, allnurses.com, Calgary Guide for those of you who are taking patho, or it's also really helpful for clinical. There's a, let me see. So let's say diabetes. You can look it up, and then there are these are concept maps here. So this one is hypoglycemia, and it'll tell you what happens. Just so if you're one of those people who really needs explanation step by step, this is really helpful. I wish I had this J1, would have saved so much time. What else do we have? Sci-Hub is, you know, you can access any free research paper. And then Mark Klimek, I included the link here. It's also great to listen to while you're in the car. Okay, clinicals. So, yes, someone was going to share. Nope. Okay, sorry, I thought I heard someone talk. Okay. Clinicals. So, clinicals, probably the main source of my anxiety, J1. So just breathe, it's okay. Everyone was nervous on their first day. So, and I included what my first day was like. I was at Texas Health Plano. I actually work there now as a tech. So if you put that on a resume, you're probably more likely to get to the hospital as a tech. So a couple of my my people in my group, we just stood at the nurse's station because we really didn't know what to do for like a good 15 minutes, like completely lost. But it's okay. And then my first patient was this 86-year-old guy who ran out of the room naked, and it was like 7 in the morning. So for me, the best advice I can give you is set standards for yourself. Like, of course, come prepared and come with a goal, but don't have any, like, you know, concrete expectations, because things will change and unexpected things will happen. And also don't stress yourself out if you don't if every single detail doesn't go how you want it to. And if you don't know something, ask. Like the preceptors are there to help you. Okay. Clinical requirements. Yes. Someone was going to speak.
Just like this, like as she said, like so for J1 you will have like a list. You'll see like before you go in the hospital, you will have plenty of advice, and the teachers will talk to you so much about it all. But there's like a list of things, that skills they want you to like have attempted to do. So just, you always take that with you to clinicals. and your preceptor will sign off when you do it. Just always ask, like, even if your nurse like has like a patient you can't really do much work on, just ask, hey, is it okay if I go ask your coworker if I can do this on them? Just like be willing to try new things. Don't hold yourself back. But if you analyze the situation in the environment and it's just really stressful for the whole unit that you're on, and like there's just not much you can do, don't take it personally. There are way more opportunities, and no matter how many clinicals we do or not do with this COVID situation, I've just heard from people who have graduated and like our nurses, you gain so much experience in the field. So don't be afraid don't feel like, oh, I didn't get to do all these skills during clinicals, I'm going to be a crappy nurse. That is not true. You will get it as you go. So like just try your best to do as much as you can, absorb it all in like a sponge, but don't take it personally if things don't work out right away.
Yeah. This is like, the foundations of nursing. So when you go into orientation for your job, that's where you'll like really learn a lot. And it's, different for every facility. So don't worry about it. I had a ER nurse preceptor and she's like, I didn't even do IV until, until after I graduated. So it's totally fine. And then one more thing I want to add is make sure you take initiative. I was super quiet when I was at my J1 clinical. I didn't really, I just kind of waited for the nurse to tell me what to do. But take initiative. Like if you see the nurse, I don't know, she's pulling up insulin or she's using the insulin pen, just ask you, hey, can I do that? Can you show me how to do that? Because they don't usually know what you're allowed to do. So just ask.
Yeah, and at the beginning of your clinical shift, whenever you get put with a nurse, you can talk to them and say, hey, always go in with a goal for the day, like, hey, I want to give an insulin injection today. And tell your nurse, I want to do this. If you have the opportunity, can I call my instructor? Because you'll have your instructor come supervise in J1. And most of the time, they're really good about letting you do that and helping you through it. And the more you ask questions and show them that you want to be there, you want to be involved, and you want to learn, the more they will let you do. Because if you're just going to sit there quietly and follow behind them, it's not their job to pull you into things. It's your job to seek those opportunities and ask about it. And they're more than happy to let you.
Yes, and then the preceptors we've had were excellent. You'll get, hopefully not too many, one or two that don't want students, and don't take it personally. Like I'm sure they're already busy as is, so don't take it personally if someone doesn't want to take a student that day.
Yeah, and I had my J1 group, there was this one nurse that everybody had week after week and complained about, and I ended up getting her on my very last day. And as long as you're just respectful and not like, I guess I talked to her, and she was super nice, and she did have a different personality. So I get how she might have come off as rude or like stuck up. She didn't want a student, didn't want to bother, but I showed initiative and I told her, hey, I'm allowed to do this, let me do it. And she ended up giving me a whole list of things like, go check on this patient, do this, do this, do this, because I told her what I could do and what I wanted to do. So if I had just sat quiet, I'm sure she wouldn't have really talked to me or let me do anything. But that's when you kind of have to get out of your comfort zone and ask. And I mean, if you ask something, the worst they can tell you is they don't feel comfortable with you doing it. And that's okay. You can try again another time. You're going to have plenty of opportunities.
And Courtney in the chat said, and remember to focus on your patient. Opportunities to practice skills will come, but your patient's safety and well-being should be your top priority. The rest will fall into place. That's very true. You'll have to remember why you're in nursing school in the first place. And I'm sure for a lot of you, it's, you want to take care of these people. So make sure what you're doing is for the benefit of the patient. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I have some things to add. So I'm sure like you guys are already familiar with like the clinical compliance, but just make sure to stay on top of that because I know with Caltrans they'll send you like notifications through email like, oh, it's a 30 days before you have to get this vaccination updated again. I've Unfortunately, I've heard some stories about some students not being able to go through their classes because they didn't have their clinic compliance on time, and they had to drop their class. And you're still able to come back like later on in the year on a different semester, but you know it's just a bad feeling, and it's just a good thing to keep up to date with your vaccinations. I don't know how far you guys gone into depth regarding the math test, but there is a math test that is required before you start your clinical, just so they know that you can actually calculate and give medicines. I don't know if you guys do that in J1. Maybe you guys do, but
They take them.
I think.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, for the math test, how it works is that you guys will probably have to take it through Canvas, and then you guys will have the Zoom like on, and basically you'll have like 10 randomized questions that come from Calculate with Confidence, and then in order to like be considered pass, you can only miss one question. So you have up to 3 tries, but yeah, if you don't pass within those 3 tries, you will have to drop that class, and that's just so. How they've done it for us is that you can use a calculator, but it can't be like it's on your computer. So
They'll probably. I feel like if anyone has done the math test, I feel like they'll do it on Exemplify.
They're doing it through Canvas. I have mine
Yeah.
today,
Okay.
and it's going to be through Canvas, and we're going to use our phones for the Zoom call
Oh, okay.
for this one, and we can use the calculator on our computer and a blank piece of scratch paper.
Gotcha.
I just want to, like, it sounds really scary that you have to drop the class if you don't pass it, but like, I was upset at how much time I spent studying for the math test in J1 because a lot of it is simple math, and you just have to understand, like, if you like dimensional analysis or if you like a different form, like, don't switch it up the day before the exam. Do a couple rounds of practice, make sure you feel comfortable with where the numbers are supposed to go, but like, don't freak out. I was like really upset. I finished the quiz, I got them all right. I finished in like 5 minutes, and I was like, I cannot believe that I spent like 3 weeks studying for this. This is absurd. So I'm sure they get harder. I'm actually nervous about the one coming up for J2, but like the one in J1 is simple math. So like, don't freak out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I spent a lot of time studying in J1, and I've taken it J2 and S1 so far too, and I'd spent less time, and it's like, as long as you know your formulas, you're fine.
Yeah, like when it comes to studying for math, just pick a method that you like, whether it be like fractions or dimensional analysis, and be consistent with it. Definitely what Heather said, don't change it up last minute, because that will definitely screw you over, because then you're going to be questioning yourself, and self-doubt is something you'll find a lot in nursing school, but if anything, to be confident about, be confident in your math. But as for my clinical experiences, the best thing I recommend is like just try to be engaged as much as you can. It's definitely terrifying for me, like even now, but as the more clinical so you do, the more comfortable you'll be in that setting. But just know that every time you go there, make the best use of your time. Like at the end of the day, like the clinical setting is for you to learn. So yeah, like I totally understand like being terrified, but just know that each clinical experience that you make the most out of it, like it's a place to learn, and it's expected that you'll make mistakes. Like the nurses there like totally get that, and as long as you show that that you're like actively asking questions or like volunteering to do so and so, it'll be so much. You'll take more for it than just like doing the minimum. Like I know like for our clinicals, they tend to be 12 hours. So it is a long day, but I mean, it's what you're gonna be going into in the future. So might as well get used to that, right? But yeah, clinicals, especially ever since COVID happened, I remember initially that we had to go through like VSIMs all the time, and it's just not the same in person, guys. So again, like I get being terrified for the first like few clinicals that you have, but once you get that experience, you'll appreciate it so much more.
I think it's going to be a really cool experience too. You guys are coming in during a pandemic, so you'll get to see a lot of things that doesn't usually happen on a regular basis. But yeah, I've taken care of COVID patients. One thing I would like to say is if you're going to the hospital and have to wear a face shield, get a cap. I think I bought mine off of Etsy. It's like a washable one, just so you don't have to worry about if you have long hair. You can just stuff it in there and then put buttons on it and put your mask over that. Speaking of wearing things, here are some of the required items that you need to have for a clinical. So obviously your scrubs, don't show up naked. Your name, badge, and plate. Eat some breakfast. Please don't pass out. I had a friend who did not eat and she saw, I think, an ostomy for the first time and she passed out. So don't do that. And then you're gonna need your stethoscope, pen light, pen, and the paperwork that you're supposed to have. And I know there were some questions about shoes that we'll get into at the end with the Q&A. And optional, the clipboards that fold, you can get them off of Amazon. Those are really helpful because they have flat values on the back. And then support hose. For me, I can't go through a 12-hour shift without compression socks, so invest in a really good compression sock. Oh, and Heather is holding up the clipboard there. So super helpful.
They look big, but they fit in your scrub pocket.
Yeah.
Perfect to hold all your paperwork.
They're pretty great, and they do fit like the whole 15-page care plan. I also want to mention these. They're called SB socks. They're like $13 on Amazon. They're some of the cheaper compression socks that I have found, and they're really great. And I also work full-time while being in the program full-time, so I work like 12 to 14-hour shifts, and I wear them for those too. Like, they're phenomenal.
All right, let's see what's next. Oh, and there's a little thing I made. Okay, and let's see. So again, do you want to?
Yes,
Do
sorry.
you want to start on the questions there? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, no. I want to make sure we get through. So a bunch of y'all had questions, which is awesome that you submitted when you RSVP'd, and I want to make sure that we get through as many as we can. Hang on one quick second. Sorry, it's a frozen session going on back here. But anyways, just like talk about clinicals. So when you have your 10 people in your group, my group personally, we had Professor Bain, and she made us have like a mom of the group who had like snacks, like tampons, everything, and like that one person carried the bag, and we would just text them like clinical day if we forgot a pen or something. But just like get close to your clinical group, you're gonna love them. Just like tips, just overall in general, if you're struggling, get help before you need, like, don't let the teacher come find you. You go find your professor, and they are here to help us. Like, they love, they don't need to teach us. They make no money like being professors, so, or just like clinical instructors or anything. So they're here because they care for us, and just utilize those connections. You can use them for recommendation letters if you get really personal. Just take one, I'm here, 1 second. Take one thing a day. Cece, take one thing one day at a time. Like I literally did. I've like wrote out in my planner week 1, week 2, and I was like, it's week 5, like day 4. Like I just needed to get by the semester.
Very good.
I have one little thing with that, like
Yes.
a daily type thing. I got this little notepad at Hobby Lobby for a couple dollars, and it's like entirely filled front and back with checklists. And I'll just go down and either the night before or the morning of, I'll write down a list of things I need to do. And I'll kind of prioritize the order of it, and I color code based on my classes, but I'll put them in my checklist. So I have all of my to-dos together for that day. And if it's something that I can do like within the week, I'll just put the date next to it. And like, it's not a big deal if I do it today, if I have time. But that kind of helped me prioritize and keep focus on a little chunk of things at a time, rather than like everything I have to do for the semester.
Yeah, like as you're saying, just take it out, like prep everything, like get your scrubs out, make your lunch the day before, get your money, like your credit cards aside. Try to bring the least amount of things to clinical as possible. Like I only brought my keys and like a credit card for emergencies and my lunch and a pen and paper, like whatever the required options are, because you don't usually like have lockers. They love us, but they don't. Like there's not room for us. So you just want to take up the least amount of space as possible there. But like there's so much we could talk about, but just we're kind of running low on time. But your professors, your clinical instructors will give you more than enough information, and you will hear it so many times you can explain it in your sleep, like how we're explaining it to y'all. But don't be overwhelmed. If you do, just reach out to your mentor, like when you join Unite, or reach out to one of us. We're all here to help each other, even if we're not in the same cohort. Like we just want each other to do well. But yeah, does anyone have any other tips before? Just like, yeah, the fellowship of suffering, just know we're all our second family. We want to see each other be successful. So that's all I have to say. But I think, Frances, you had a little story for this.
I do. Okay. So speaking of fellowship of suffering, so I was actually supposed to graduate May 2020, but I failed adult 2. And it was, I think for me, the hardest part of nursing was balancing life and, studying constantly. And I didn't really ask for help when I needed it. So mentally, I was not there, like going through depression, anxiety. That's why I just, utilize CAPS and those counseling sessions as much as you can. But I had Miss Schramm for my adult clinical, and it was the test questions that got me, because I developed the worst test anxiety ever. And I would come to Miss Schramm and I just be really bummed out. And if you fail a class, it's not the end of the world. If you fail a class or a test, it's not the end of the world. I think one of the things that you can take away from nursing school is, you learn a lot about yourself. You will make some of the best memories. It will fly by, I promise you. And just don't forget why you're in nursing school in the first place. So, yeah, that's it. And fellowship of suffering, reach out to each other, use each other as resources. It's gonna be okay. All right. And you want to answer some of the questions?
Yes. But
Okay.
I want to say thank you for sharing your story, because yeah, I personally came in 4.0, whatever, thought I was the crap. Yeah. Nursing school will humble you, and it's fine. If you never see another A or even another B in your life, just graduate. GPA does not matter. It's who you are as a nurse. When you work for the rest of your life, either bedside nursing or if you go back to grad school, your 4.0 will not matter. I know kids in my class who are super book smart, can get A's on the test, 4.0 still to this day. And I know seeing them, their clinical, the way that they interact with patients, it's the opposite. So just focus on your patients. Remember, that's why you're here. Grades, yes, work hard, do your best when you study, but do not let your grades define you, is all I have to say about the fellowship suffering.
That is so true.
But yes, so actually I'm gonna have you, if it's okay, I'm gonna skip to the raffle first, and then so just because everyone, the people that could attend, I just want to say thank you for being here. Those who are going to watch this recording later on, thank you for also watching and getting this far. We're going to do a little raffle. So we have a couple prizes. We have I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay real quick.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing. There you go.
Let's see. Oh, I am not a good computer person. 1 second. But basically, so, okay, there we are. So I have a roster of students who like signed up who RSVP'd for this, and then I'm just gonna do a random number generator. So the first person so it's 1 through 35, if you can see. The first person is gonna win a stethoscope, and those are like pretty expensive. So good luck to this person. Number 35, so Jocelyn Lopez, whether you're here or not, we're gonna send you, it's gonna be COVID style, we're gonna mail you a stethoscope. So I will reach out to you, congratulations.
Woohoo!
And then a foldable clipboard, that was the one, I think, was it Heather that showed her foldable clipboard? Anyways, it's a really nice tool that you get to fold all your paperwork and stuff it into your pockets at clinicals. Okay, so number 21, which is, I cannot pronounce her name, but I've been emailing her throughout this session. She's actually homeschooling her daughter, and I love that she really wanted to reach out and attend. She's gonna watch this later on, so congratulations. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. It's Aaliyah. Okay, and then we have 4 real badges. So first person is number 15, which is Laura Marshall. Congratulations. The second person is number 13. I cannot pronounce things to say my name is confusing itself, so I apologize for butchering any names. One second. Leandria Johnson. And then 2 more people, and then I will be quiet. Number 34, Layla Jasam. I'm so sorry again for mispronouncing things. And the last person, last but not least, number 14, Peyton. I cannot even, I'm not going to try to, I will do the respect and not try to pronounce your last name because I will embarrass myself. But I will reach out to y'all after this meeting. But so that's the raffle. Congrats to the winners, and you're all winners for being here and just like getting this advice, because it's, I hope you take it all and get to use it in nursing school. But so that's the raffle. Now it's okay. We're gonna do the questions that y'all RSVP'd with. I'll kind of have like any of the current members or board members answer these questions, and then whatever we don't get to, we will answer it because we have like 24 minutes-ish left. So I'll just type it up and send it out to you guys in an email with like a follow-up survey. But as you can see, a bunch of questions, and then there's also advice. I'm just gonna copy and paste that into that email, so we'll skip that and just go to the questions if it's all right.
Layla said your pronunciation was super close and better than most.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so first question. Sorry, I'm not tech savvy. Can y'all still see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, how exactly should I divide my time between subjects? I'm just really worried about pharm in general. I also like to know how to prepare for clinicals if possible, any good advice or tips to know about beforehand.
Megan, we're still seeing the number.
Yeah, you're still on Google.
Sorry, I'm just gonna, hang on. So sorry, y'all.
I think you have to stop unsharing it and then share it once you're on like the page you want to be on, I think.
Gotcha.
Or, never mind, it worked.
Can you see it now? No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the Google.
There you go.
The document. Okay. Okay, so for that first question, I would just say like your planner is your life. I planned out like, okay, I'm gonna study for pharm like 2 hours a day, like 2 days before it, or like however, just I like literally color coordinated my planner. Like this color was for this class we're studying. Just tell your family just to be super understanding of your schedule. Mine was, and I love them for that so much. And they're like, they would do my laundry. I lived at home. Like I had that blessing and just like the support of my family. And if you don't have that, just find your people in the cohort and they will help you too. How to prepare for clinicals. You will have plenty of hours in lab beforehand, and you will, I hated lab. That was just me. I dreaded those long days and just spending it in there. Just watch the videos that they make you watch before you come to lab. Any advice or tips? Just like, I don't know, you guys kind of listen to us ramble all day. But if anyone else want to answer these questions?
Preparing for clinicals, I feel like the thing that gives most people anxiety is speaking to the patient. So maybe just, learning how to introduce yourself to people. Maybe say hi to someone if you're walking down the sidewalk, just practice, stepping out of your comfort zone.
Fake it till you make it. Just act like you know what you're doing, act confident, and you'll look confident.
That's true.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. The nurses are smart and your teachers are smart and they're there to help you. And if you're ever in clinical and you don't know or you're kind of unsure, you can ask your nurse, like, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing this by myself. Can you talk me through it, or can you guide me and show me how? And they'll love to help you. It's always better to ask than to kind of not really know and possibly hurt somebody in that sort of situation, because they're there to help you and they will.
Okay.
Mentioned in the chat that use the farm handouts because they are like exactly what you need to know for the test. Even if you don't go to peer tutoring, if they still have peer tutoring, definitely use the notes for peer tutoring because they're super succinct. The way that the pharmacology tutor last semester broke everything up was super helpful. And you may decide like, oh, I want them organized a little bit differently, but she just gives you the key information. So doing that reorganization of the notes, then like that just is another study tool for you because you're just typing it over or you're writing it over or whatever it is. But like the peer tutors have worked with the professors to get you that information. They keep it super simple or as simple as they possibly can. And they don't mess around with anything you don't need to know.
I can say another thing. Are we still on the first question? Okay. So about farm, one thing I would say that's really helpful is that was my easiest class, but I also am a pharmacy technician, so that helped me quite a bit, I would say, just to kind of recognize what drug does what. But also there were a lot that I didn't know, and I focused on what was different between each category, like each drug in that category. So all blood pressure meds are going to decrease blood pressure, but you want to know what side effect is different between each one. So once you get down what every drug like kind of does, just realize what they do that's different, and that'll really help you to differentiate between the drugs and just to kind of help you remember, because you kind of already know what they all do. So just remembering side effects and not focusing on remembering every little single aspect of like what drug is what, because you're not ever gonna get that. You just want to focus on the differences between each drug. That'll help. That's what helped me the most when I didn't know something. So just kind of focus on what can you do to help you remember this drug by itself. Like some drugs have just one little side effect that makes it different. So just kind of try to do that. That's what helped me.
Thank you. All right, and we have a bunch more questions, so we're gonna try to condense. What times do we go to labs, clinicals, and what do we wear? It depends on your schedule. Make sure you look at your what classes you're taking. And then the instructors will tell you when you need to meet and what do we wear. Again, your instructors will tell you, but if it's labs, it'll be the scrubs. And just follow the uniform guidelines. Does labs start at the beginning of classes and clinicals also, or do they start later in the semester? So you do labs first on campus, and then you go on to clinicals in the hospital. So you're gonna practice all the skills first with each other at school. What study habits work best for you during J1? Again, everyone studies differently. Find the one that works best for you. Take that FARC quiz if you have to. And also having a group really does help. It keeps you accountable, making sure that you're studying and making sure that you're focused. Sorry, I'm just like trying to go through these. Feel free to chime in. How much time do you typically spend reading, studying each day for class? I'm not really a textbook reader, I'm not gonna lie. I hate reading textbooks so much.
I didn't at all.
I hated reading textbooks so much. But studying, I would say per think per class, maybe like 1 or 2 per day. It really depends on what's going on in your life. But the more you break it down each day, the less you'll have to do all at once right before an exam. So just keep that in mind. I would like to know more about what to expect in clinicals for the first semester. Well, I can only speak from my experience J1 at Texas Health Plano. So you'll meet like 6:30, 6:20 with your clinical instructor, and then they'll take you wherever you need to go. And 6:45, between 6:45 and 7 is usually when the nurses do their huddle and talk about all the patients. And then make sure you ask, hey, I'm here, I'm a TW student, to the charge nurse, and then they'll probably assign you to a nurse. And I think you just follow what the nurse is doing throughout the day, and make sure you tell them, what you're only allowed to do for J1.
I'd say you're pretty restricted J1, at least compared to J2. Just like you can't pass meds until like it just depends on your professor, but just know try to do as much as you can during J1. Don't be surprised if you can't do it all. But like injections and stuff, like I had to wait till some professors will say they will find you and make sure that they see you do it first, and then you're allowed to do it by yourself, like afterwards with the nurse. But clinicals, it's all pretty. I think if they changed it from when you were there, Francis, for us, like we would have to get there at 5:30, I think. So you had like an hour, or like 5:30ish, an hour to do like your.
For preclinical?
Yes.
Okay, so you have to be there earlier.
Yes, an hour earlier. So you come there, and then I recommend one person, if there are 2 or 3 of y'all on one unit, one of y'all go up to the night charge nurse and be like, hey, we're going to be here for the day. We need patients. And they will give you patients that they're going to give like the nurses. And then you do your paperwork an hour before the nurses get there. You go find your nurse for the huddle at like 6:37. Follow them around. Sometimes if they're really overwhelmed, they just send you with the PCT, which is fine. Like you'll just get to do vitals and stuff. And like when you shadow the nurse, you just like kind of watch them doing like either injections or med administration. Like if they let you get things out of the Pyxis, like do as much as you can, but then respect their boundaries. If they say, I don't feel comfortable with you doing this on my license, just respect them and move on. Be polite. That's all I have to really say about clinicals. And your professors will tell you about like what times you need to go there, what you need to wear to what labs. It will be, we like have mentioned a bunch of these kind of answers beforehand, like study habits and stuff, if you refer back to the recording. But I think most of these questions we kind of answered as we went on.
Yeah, your clinical faculty will do a great job the weeks before clinical, preparing you and explaining what you should expect in lab. So what we say is from our experience, but we can't guarantee it'll be the exact same, especially since things have changed with COVID. But they will not leave you hanging. They're going to go over everything, answer your questions, and you will be prepared for clinical and lab.
Okay, what else? Wipeable black shoes. Personally, I have black Skechers, and I sprayed the I don't know, to keep it waterproof. But with all that COVID stuff going on, if you can find any on Amazon, like shoe covers, up to you.
I have it's Crocs brand. I don't know exactly what style, but it's solid, like without the holes in it. But they were pretty cheap, like $25-30 when I got them on Amazon. They're just Crocs work shoes, and they're super comfortable. They're that same rubber material, so you can take the soles out and completely wash your shoes off if anything were to spill on them.
And then this one is, how do you recommend looking for a job in a hospital to work while in school, and when should we start this process? So like I said, after J2, most hospitals will hire you as a tech. for me, I work part-time, and I think someone here has worked full-time also. They can speak to working full-time.
I'm sorry.
Part-time.
I think it's after J1.
Oh, that
Because
you
after
can work?
J1, yeah. After J1 is when I got my job.
Really? Oh, okay. I guess it depends on the facility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. At least for Texas Health, you have to be J2.
Parkland is J1.
J1? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
I agree on the job descriptions as far as like first semester or first year of nursing school, what the different hospitals require.
And then when should we start this process? Like I said, get your resume together, work on it little bits and pieces at a time. Keep track of what floors you're on, and make friends with your preceptors. Like if you guys really click, like, maybe reach out to them. Maybe they can help you, vouch for you to get a job there. And working during nursing school really helped me. I got my job during S1, and it really helped me, connect things together, just seeing it in practice. And I think with handling everything time-wise, make sure that you don't take on more than you can chew. So, and then I think, was it Heather, you had a full-time job?
Yeah, I work as a bartender though, so I don't work in healthcare, but I do work about 36 hours a week. So in J1, we had off on Thursdays, and then my clinical was Friday. So I worked Thursday, Saturday, Sunday between 12 and 14 hours. It's hard, but it's doable. You just have to prioritize. Like a lot of people have said, just take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one test at a time. Again, the homeworks and the extra credit opportunities, like those things are meant to help you study. So pay attention while you do them. And then refer back to them. I learned by like handwriting stuff. So I always hand wrote the homeworks. I didn't type them up because I learned better by writing. So just learn pretty quickly what works for you as far as studying goes. And if you don't get a good grade on a test, try a different study method and just kind of hone it in as the semester goes on. I got lucky in that my job as a bartender starts at 7 a.m. sometimes. So between 7 and 9, I can be doing practice questions on our tablets that have internet access, so steal little bits of time to study whenever you can. Practice questions were by far the most helpful thing for me because they just get you in the mindset of what they're going to be asking on tests. And so that was, just as many practice questions as I can fit in on my phone, on the tablets during my break. You just make the time.
Right. And just to add on real quick, everyone's saying really great things, but so I'm trying to think of two different ways. Right now I'm talking to people who have kids or have a life, who are working. I worked full time throughout J1, J2, and I'm planning on doing it S1. I don't know how it'll work, but just make sure you manage your time wisely. As Heather mentioned, try to get as much done during work as you can. Hopefully your family's flexible with you guys, and the people who have kids, my dad went to school when we were younger, and seeing him go through college and doing all that. Just be there for your family when you can, find that time for them. But yeah, also focus on yourself, and then your job, just hopefully your boss or your employers are awesome at letting you work during, or being flexible with, just know how if I have Thursdays off this semester, I'm just going to work on Thursdays. That's my day of making money. So just kind of try to balance it out as soon as they give you all your schedules. But then just to talk to students who are more of the traditional students is what I would say, who are 21 or whatever, and looking for a PCT job, or anyone who's looking for a PCT job. You honestly cannot, this sounds kind of cold, do not even bother applying, because they're just going to deny, they're not even going to look at your application if you haven't finished your first semester of nursing school at most hospitals. And Cal Francis mentioned, second semester at other other hospitals. But just work on your resume, hit up Trevor at Career Connections. He will
Like my resume, I thought it was nice, and now it's like golden. Like I will charge people to look at my resume. Like he brushed it up really well, and it's helped me. Like I was able, like just know that it's like good that you're looking for these job options, but like as a PCT, like they're not gonna hire you unless, I mean, like it's good to apply, but I'd say just try to, when you're in clinicals, find a preceptor. Like I was on the same unit 5 out of my 8 sessions, like one semester, and that preceptor was so sweet that I looked for her, and she made her schedule, like she made sure to work when I had clinicals. Like that's how nice she was. And it's gotten to the point where like I have her personal cell phone number, and when I apply for residency, she said she'll be like in my interview. So it's like making those connections while you are in the hospital during clinical time, and just like be buddies with the nurses, like kiss their butts if you need to, but don't make it too obvious. But like make sure that you like introduce yourself to the manager on the floor. Just say, hey, I'm interested in working on this unit. Just do what you got to do to get your name and your face out there, and just follow up with like emails and just grab their business cards. And
Absolutely. Yeah. I was on this one floor at Texas Health Plano J2, and I was like, you know, brave, and I just stepped out of my comfort zone. I left my name and number and my email to the manager, and she passed it on to the floor I work now. And, you know, now I have a job before I even graduate. So like, it's possible, guys. Don't worry. Oh, and then, so if for those of you who feel like it might be a little bit too much to be, take the traditional amount of classes, you can go part-time. I know some people, they take, 2 classes at a time, and then so they can balance work and life also. So don't be afraid to go part-time if you need to.
And also, if you like don't want to get a tech job, or you just don't want to work, because I don't want to work at all. I am a part of the CAT program with UT Southwestern, and during the summer we had an externship. I was like 8 or 9 weeks, and that was a really great experience. Just kind of get you into the mindset of what you would actually be doing as a nurse, and it's paid. So that way you can also get your foot in the door. And it's during the summer where you're not taking any classes, you're not stressed out about how you're going to balance everything.
Yeah, making those connections while you're at the hospital are really helpful. I'm with Edie on the CAT program, and I was able to get a job just by like emailing, and then, kind of the more you ask, like I emailed like 5 managers to figure out, who wanted me. So I feel like the more you, try to make those connections, it makes it a lot easier basically. And you also want to make sure that, the floor that you're wanting to work on will work with you. So, the manager I was interviewed by, she only requires two shifts a month for nursing students. So if you kind of know that they're willing to take students, just make sure that it's flexible with what you're able to handle.
Just a couple things I'd like to add about being a tech in school is I've worked full-time as a tech since J1, and it's, as far as getting your foot in the door, like similar to Francis, I've got a job if I want it on my floor that I currently work on. One thing that my manager has mentioned is, you can, forward thinking, y'all are just starting J1, but when you're applying for jobs in S2, you can list that you want to care for your patient and your objective on your resume, but as a tech, they can see, do you want to care for your patient? Do you want to, brush their teeth and help them and stuff? So, you can look good on paper, but they see the intangibles. They see how you truly treat your patients and how caring you are. Another thing is getting a job as a tech is every day is a job interview. You can't go in and just want to halfway do it. Treat every day like a job interview, because managers talk, people talk. If that's a hospital, maybe you don't want to work on that floor, and you want to work on a different floor, the managers talk, especially if they see that you work at that hospital. They'll ask your manager, how did he or she really do? How did they treat their patients? Are they personable? Do they get along with people? Just stuff like that.
Yes, that's all really great advice, and thank you everyone who's been adding in. I'm afraid if it cuts off at noon in 2 minutes, I'm sorry. Just thank you all for being here, but we're going to try to knock out those last few questions while we can. So techniques, we talked about balancing assignments and clinicals, jobs as nursing students, places to study on campus we mentioned. Let's see, hardest semester, hardest class, it depends. I think J1, it's adjusting to the nursing program, but then I've heard S1 is also really hard. I haven't taken an S1 class yet,
but Francis can elaborate on that. But don't worry, just get through J1, and just the resources are your people, like your professors, your people above you, your mentors. Steps for surviving nursing school, this document, or like this presentation we did. It's honestly not as hard. It's just hard to adjust at the beginning. It's hard just to manage your time, but once you get that all done, I think you're okay.
And as far as like, is it hard? I mean, nursing school is hard regardless, but you kind of get more comfortable and you get more familiarized with everything. So J1 is like, it's hard because it's all unknown. You're still learning all the new stuff. J2, it's learning how to really apply the things you learned J1 and go in depth with like the NCLEX type questions. And then S1, it's a lot of critical care stuff. So it's going to be fun. It's a fun semester. And then progressively as you go, you get less and less paperwork for clinical. So that's something to look forward to. Anything else you guys want to add? I think.
Yeah, does anyone question? It hasn't kicked us out yet. So if you have any questions, now or forever hold your peace. If you want to ask it like anonymously, you can send it in the chat. If not, just talk, like unmute yourself. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave a second for that. But I don't think I saw anyone add to the chat any questions that they had. But just advice, like take it all one day at a time. Find your people. I can't think of anything. Enjoy it while it lasts, because I was like, oh my God, I hate school. I'm never going back again. Like I'm counting down. Graduation is May 15th, 2021 for us. Spring students graduating in the spring. I already know that. It's a Saturday morning. I'm that excited to leave. But now I'm like, enjoy your time. Like I'm going to miss being with my friends and studying and stressing with them, and just go in while you can, because you never know what you have till it's gone.
It's true. Layla asked, for visual learning types, are there tips y'all have for studying? For me, I really liked drawing pictures, concept maps, something that'll, like I'm a checkbox type of person too. So if I can see like groupings, that really helps. And then that this little thing also, this fluid and electrolyte notebook thing, it has pictures and stuff that you can use to memorize, and it's super helpful. So I would invest in either buying this or checking it out from the library. And Picmonic also, yes, Picmonic helps so much. There are skills videos to watch before labs for learning the skills. Yes, so there are like these videos from like the early 90s that you can watch, and they'll like have a skit, not a skit, but it's like really bad acting, and they'll go through how to put in a Foley, something like that. Yes, this meeting is being recorded and it'll be posted. Rita, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Yeah, no problem. What was that electrolyte notebook? This is Mosby's Fluids and Electrolytes. Looks like that. Might be backwards from what you're seeing. Mosby's. Would look on Chegg, Amazon. I bought one used off of Amazon, so no problem. And I'll stay on here until 12:15 if anyone else has any questions.
But yeah, I'm just gonna repeat this and I'll like be quiet. If anyone has questions, go ahead and yell it out. So yes, this is being recorded. I'm gonna send it all out in a follow-up video with a little survey and questions like that we mentioned. Everything that we mentioned, like questions, things mentioned in the chat about books and stuff, I'll send like the PowerPoint out to y'all. Trying to think, people who weren't able to attend but were emailing me, and I answered their personal questions. everything will be sent out. The J1 questions that y'all asked that list, I'll make sure I type up the answers too and send it out. But if not, I'm going to peace out. We have some people have math exams, I know, like at 1. So, but thank you all current members who attended to help volunteer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for my board members. Thank you, Francis and Victor, for really putting this all together. And yeah, everyone, you just have a safe and fun semester. You're gonna do great in coming J1s.
Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're here to help you.
Yes, and join our club, CES and Unite. And the others are great too, but not as awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.